The fifth race meeting of the season for the Michelin Le Mans Cup, and in fact round 6 of the championship brings us to Tuscany, beautiful Tuscany, and the Mugello International Circuit for the first time. And we're now at, well, reasonably early evening, 5 p.m, with a scheduled start at 5:20 for this penultimate race of the season. Championships still to be decided, but they're, in the case of LMP3, rather tight. If you are a GT3 runner, though, and remember it is the more global GT3 category within this division, then Alessandro Balzan and Matt Kurzajewski arrive here back in Italy with a decent race lead. I say back in Italy, the Le Mans Cup cars did not have a chance to race at Imola, so this is the only Italian visit of the season with Portimao still to come. And of course we've already been to Barcelona, to the south of France, Le Castellet, and those 2 races at Le Mans before Spa last month. Conditions are pretty much perfect now after an awful lot of rainfall yesterday, but white fluffy cloud in the sky, blue sky behind that, and a decent temperature as well, although the winds are reasonably strong. This track absolutely superb with its rise and fall, so the elevation change, the constant change of direction as well. 5.2 kilometers containing 15 corners, and they all feel like they're very, very different. So welcome to our coverage. My name's Johnny Palmer. I'm joined by Graham Goodwin of dailysportscar.com. We had qualifying for each of these 2 classes a little earlier on in the day, and that has given us a grid of 37 cars, assuming that the Terence Woodward MV2S racing car has been fixed. That was rather battered and bruised after Terence is off in qualifying.
It was, but let's have a look at the grid. It's 4th place in GT3 for the Iron Dames, and a good qualifying performance, if not a pole position setting performance from the Lamborghini. Does look close here. If we can keep the racing clean, and that has been a challenge at times for a number of members of this grid, there's every chance we could get a cracking race here. This is absolutely a racetrack that both you and I know, Johnny, is perfectly capable of supporting really good, close, mixed class racing. This, though, is a leap into the unknown with prototypes and GTs here at Mugello for the first time, and this is the first opportunity to see those 2 very different ideas behind race cars. On that, I can see the MV2S car, by the way, is at the back of that grid. You know, in a mix for an endurance race. Hour and 15 minutes to come, and literally anything can happen.
Well, I spoke about Alessandro Balzan and Matt Kurzajewski's championship lead right on cue. This is their Ferrari. They didn't get pole position, so have not extended their 27-point advantage. Okay. The pole position going, in fact, to a bit of a surprise car, but a welcome one for British fans, I'm sure. That's a look at the championship points, 82.5. I know, half points, but that's as a result of what happened at the Road to Le Mans race 1. Balzan and Kurzajewski 27 points ahead of Custodio Toledo and Riccardo Agostini, their teammates within AF Corsa, and then Andrew Gilbert and Fran Reda, who are 3rd in the championship, just a couple of points back from Toledo and Agostini. So it is tight between 2nd and 3rd and 4th place teams. But we'll pause now for perhaps one of the best national anthems on the globe. It is, of course, for Italy. Nothing like a bout of that to get the juices flowing ahead of the penultimate race of the season for the Michelin Le Mans Cup. Grid is now being cleared in readiness for the 1 minute board to be shown to the whole of the field. Starting drivers we'll delve into in a moment or two as well. There is a gap on the grid, I've just noticed. So that we're about 6th position, or are we further back than that?
It's one of the Inter-Europol cars, I think.
So CD Sport Shahan Sarkisian is there. Here's the 44 Team Virage car, Georgios Kolovos, who's on double duty this weekend, racing in the European Le Mans Series tomorrow as well in an LMP2. But we'll have to reset the brain now to driving an LMP3 car, sharing with Minea Stefan, who was a champion last year in the Ligier European Series. Now, where is this gap? The front 2 cars are there, the next 2 cars are there. It is in behind.
It's two in front of the Hegeli car. So it looks to me like, is it the 34 car? Was that the car that had a problem at the end of qualifying?
There was one car that didn't make it back, wasn't there? I'm trying to remember. We'll get to that. They're all shown, interestingly, on the grid, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're there on our timing screen. And Terence Woodward moved towards the rear, but there was definitely a gap fairly close to the front, unless some of the cars are slightly out of position, and they will be rearranged on the rolling lap. Remember that the 2x2 formation only has to be in place basically entering the final sector.
Well, there's the 43 car, so that one is there.
Yes.
I think it's the 34 car that's missing.
Well, if there is no yellow and green car ahead of the 43, it wasn't on that side of the grid, I didn't think. Could it be the other MV2S racing car, or was there a bright orange car there as well?
There's the 43. There's no car where the 34 should be.
No. Okay, so it is directly in front of the Hegeli car, as you said. 34 not there. Maybe going to start from the pit lane. Tear off to be removed from this car as well to make the screen as clear as possible, whilst also elbowing the cameraman out of the way. I don't think that was done intentionally, in fairness.
Often said, my Asia Le Mans Series colleague, Ollie Gavin, loves to tear off.
There's the space.
It is like putting the car putting your vision into high def.
So you're right, it is the 34 car of Alexander Bukantsov, who should have been starting from 6th position, but is not in the correct place on the grid. So my fears for an absent MV2S racing car thankfully have been allayed there. And in position is the number 29 of Jacek Zilonka, who was qualifying. There's the 34. We've located it at the very least. But Alex Bukantsov, sharing with Rick Kuhn, will have to start from pit road.
Okay.
Gone is the rule where you have to start.
You don't lose a
lap down.
No, you don't lose a lap.
You will have to join
the back of the queue.
Right at the back. Yeah. So in fact, behind Terence Woodward when all of the field are released.
Gearbox problem, I'm told, for the 34 car, and one hopes that has been solved. May well be that required a system reset, but we'll soon see.
In LMP3, it's much tighter as far as the championship is concerned. Breton Racing very close to a pole position earlier in the day. Jamie Falvey was there or thereabouts with the 26 car. And there was a red flag in the session, I seem to remember. It's a number of qualifying sessions ago, but we had a car stranded in the gravel. I'm pretty sure everybody came in, and then were there any takers to resume the session? We're about 10 minutes away from the race start, but to tell you more about the championship battle, Adrian Schiller-David Drew lead on 49.5 points, and then 8.5 points back is Fabien Michal and Adrian David. More on that combination in a moment, and just a point fewer than that, Jens Moller and Tommy Foster. Great qualifying again for Shahan Sarkisian. He'll start in the number 2 car for CD Sport on the outside of the front row. But Fabien Michal actually only needed 1 lap in the end. And there was a concern that as the session restarted, Fabien Michal was not in the leading group. And you and I looked at each other, is he even going to have enough time to cross the line to start a quick one? Well, he actually had the time to do 2. He only needed 1 to set the time that was necessary.
And by the way, then set a second time that would have been good enough as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, indeed. And he did the LMP3 kind of equivalent of dropping the mic and moonwalking out there, didn't he?
he did it at Brendan Hartley. I mean, Brendan got a name for doing that, just, you know, an out lap, a quick lap, and then in lap for Toyota, and done that for a couple of occasions. So it's a 1:42.826 from Fabien Michal to start alongside Shahan Sarkissian in the number 2 CD Sport car. Then Jamie Falvey for Breton Racing. It's in fact an all Breton Racing second row, with winners last time out Ben Stone to start on the outside of the second row. Then Jacek Zilonka and what should have been Alexander Bukantsov. It'll be a pit lane start there. Tim Kresick and Peter de Kertens next up, ahead of Jens Reno Moller for High Class Racing and Georgios Kolovos for Team Virage. Adrian Schiller, the championship leader, alongside James Sweetnam for Cool Racing. Auden Gudmundsson for Team Tour, and Oscar Bittar in the 59 Virage car will start from 14th place, ahead of Nielsen Racing's Tony Wells, number 7, Julien Lemoine for ANS Motorsport, number 84. The ninth row, Romano Ricci for M Racing, number 13. They thought they'd won in Spa, and then that was changed late in the evening. Stefan Aust for Rinaldi Racing. Horst Felbermeyer, Reiter Engineering's number 50 car, starts alongside Christophe Lapierre for Racing Spirit of Le Mans, number 10. Then it's Christian Short and Eric de Donker for CD Sport and ANS Motorsport, the second cars that those teams offer. More Motorsport, Mark van der Snel after that podium in Spa-Francorchamps alongside Steve Parrow's Rinaldi Racing, number 66. The GG Classics entry for George Nakas, the Australian driver, starts from 25th. And then in a separate grid, a first pole of the season for Blackthorn and their Aston Martin for James Swift, number 90, alongside Matt Kerzhezhevsky, who is the championship leader, number 51. The second AF Corsa Ferrari will be started by Custodio Toledo. They've had an interesting yesterday when one of the doors fell off during one of the free practice sessions. They have now fixed that. Celia Martin alongside for the Iron Dames, number 83. Andrew Gilbert and Andrew Bentley for Kessel and Stella, respectively. Claude Bouvet in the sister Blackthorn Aston Martin alongside Jörg Dreishoff for Proton Uber competition. Fred Jose and Nick Jones for Kessel Racing Ferrari, and the Porsche from High Class Racing. Josep Maiola will complete the GT field in the Biogas Motorsport Ferrari, but Terence Woodward, after causing that red flag with a high-speed off at the Arrabbiatas, he was not allowed to rejoin the session and has to start from the back of the field.
Indeed. Ticking down to the start of this race. Grid is being cleared. 36 cars on the grid, 1 car on pit lane we hope we will see join. 77 car, we're back here, the 6th row of the grid, 7th row of the grid, my apologies. Right, sunshine now, and Mugello circuit is in its pomp.
Start the first of the 2 formation laps.
Stunning, stunning venue for motorsport.
Oh, I mean, it's a fantastic evening to watch a race like this unfold in front of your eyes, and you could actually, the hour and 50 minutes that we will have as racing time, if you're a spectator on foot, will give you so many different vantage points if you're willing to put in the hard yards and walk your way around. Thankfully, if you're at home or maybe having a sneaky watch of us at work, we have cameras all the way around the track.
First of the 2 formation laps. Start of the first of the 2 formation laps.
And our coverage of this fantastic circuit hopefully will be a decent substitute for not being here in person. Get the feeling that the Michelin Le Mans Cup has some redeeming of its character perhaps to do after a difficult race at Spa-Francorchamps, particularly that first corner where all hell broke loose, as it so often does at La Source. We don't yet know, with the closing speeds, with the speed differential, how Mugello will be for multi-class racing. It's a nice wide track in places, but it does get narrower in others. 9.5 metres is at its narrowest, and everyone's got to be looking out for one another, as well as charging as hard as possible.
Absolutely right. The potential is here with the Michelin Le Mans Cup. It always is. It is a great formula, LMP3 and GT3. It's now a matter of whether or not the discipline in the penultimate race in its current formula, Johnny, is worth saying.
Is a good point, yeah.
And its penultimate race in the current formula in terms of both the class split and in terms of the mechanical package that we've got here, with new cars coming for 2025 and a new class coming for 2025.
Yeah, and within that, we don't get a new spec of car or category as such, but in the driver combination. Oh, well, yes, the new cars as an influence, yes. But the additional category to make it a 3-category championship is not a change in
It's going to be 2 LMP3 classes, and that's going to be defined by driver splits. And what we should see is the pace LMP3 across the race at the front of the grid on the up. And one would hope that there will be a better bar to judge driver standards moving forward. For now, though, it should be 26 LMP3 cars, 11 GT3 cars, a huge mix. It's going to be a very busy 5.2 kilometres.
And particularly when the front of the field starts to catch the tail and the rear of the GT3 pack, which so often find one another in little clumps of traffic. So then discretion is the better part of valor probably in the early phases, but when the more experienced drivers, the silvers and golds, get on board, this could be very harum-scarum stuff indeed. I'm excited for it, as long as it can be as clean as possible.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, we often talk about the busiest men in motorsport, women in motorsport for that matter. Is it someone like, I don't know, Christian Reed? Is it Amato Ferrari? Is it, you know, one of the top officials in Formula One? It's not any of those. It's Gwen Boursier, who's the race director of the Michelin Le Mans Cup, by a distance.
Yeah.
The workload in this hour and 50 minutes would crush an ordinary man.
I bumped into Gwen about halfway through yesterday.
Did he have his tin hat on?
He looked like he was ready to go home now, straight away. You know, lunchtime.
Oh, no!
Oh dear, how on earth has that happened? So one of the Virage cars maybe just accelerating a little too much. Well, did the Virage car in question know it was 2 formation laps? Gwen Boursier clearly said that on the radio, and that's the Virage car of Georgios Kolovos. Well, he's already had a rotation in the LMP2 field. That was in qualifying for ELMS. 34 as expected, coming back into pit lane. It was a lose whilst he was weaving the tyres, so there wasn't any confusion. He knew altogether that there was going to be a new formation lap. Throws the car at the wall, effectively, Georgios Kolovos.
He made contact, made reasonably heavy contact.
He did. And the marshal there had to stand back, because I'm sure on a formation lap wasn't necessarily expecting an incident like that. Alex Bukansov is back in pit lane, as we've said, because that car will have to start from the pit lane. Now, Georgios Kolovos is working his way back up the order. Assuming that he didn't fall to the final position, then that is absolutely fine. But it is important for the weavers to know that there is a car trying to make its way back through again. Well, just as I was saying, that we were trying to avoid some incidents and a headache for Gwen Boursier, but that should happen.
And as I say, literally anything can happen. And it just has.
Yeah, I mean, Georgios is not the first to spin on a formation lap, in fairness, and that's the whole point of them is that you're trying to warm the car up, but you can do that to excess.
At home right now, Olympic Nish is just twitching slightly.
Yes.
I remember, Al.
Yeah, Graham remembers. I've decided not to. OK, Fabien Michel, the star in qualifying earlier, alongside Shahan Sarkisian for CD Sport in the number 2 car, with Breton 3-4. And have they had a bit of a discussion, both Jamie Falvey and Ben Stone, as to how they're going to approach these first few laps, the first stint? There is a minimum drive time for all of these drivers, which these days is 40 minutes. Remember that it's not quite the 2 hours and hasn't been for a couple of years now, so an hour and 50 minutes. Then there needs to be a driver change, which has to include refueling, tyre change, and the driver being switched as well. And as long as the minimum drive time is adhered to, then you should get the full championship points by the end of it. The dramatic Michelin Le Mans Cup music playing all the way around the Mugello circuit.
Stay 2 parallel lines, no overtake before the line.
And for the first time ever, racing in the Michelin Le Mans Cup is about to begin here at Mugello circuit. It's not exactly La Source, the first corner here, but it certainly requires a bit of give and take, because it is a U-bend at slow speed, after you arrive at very high speed, this straight is over 1 kilometre in length. The lights are out. We're racing in the Michelin Le Mans Cup for this, the 6th race of the season, the penultimate round of Le Mans Cup. And who's your money on here then, as the field in LMP3 absolutely fan out from left to right, Formula Ford style. Shahan Sarkisian hung on to second position. The GT3's now looking to get through cleanly, as well as the two AF Corsa Ferraris are side by side, and in fact have both got ahead of the Blackthorn James Swift pole sitting Aston Martin. So Ferrari 1-2, James Swift is back to at least third. It might be worse than that because he was a touch wide going through Luco corner. The race is led by Fabien Michel in his white, pink and black Duquesne, and then the red and yellow colours of CD Sport, and Shahan Sarkisian in second position in the very early stages, Graham Goodwin.
Well, that's not on my bingo card. Clean starts for all 36 starters from the grid, and plenty of tussling in the mid-order here. Kessel Racing's 74 car getting stuck in there with the Iron Dames. Of course, as Matthew Kurzajewski takes the lead in GT3. It's an AF Corsa Ferrari 1-2, not just a Ferrari 1-2, and also through the third, the Stella Motorsport Audi making good starts. Fabien Michel called that beautifully, actually. And away we go for what we hope is going to be a really engaging hour and 50 minutes.
That would be definitely the prescription ahead of time, and I'd hope that most people are taking these first few laps rather gingerly, just learning the track, learning how, in some cases, the LMP3s are quicker than the GT3s, but also in others. Remember that the GT3s have ABS, whereas the LMP3s do not, so they might be a little better in those hard braking areas, and a chance to catch up some of the time. So over the line, nice battle developing between the first of the Virage cars. So that's Georgios Kolovos back in position, scrapping with James Sweetnam.
It's a good move there from Odin Gudmundsson up the inside of Adrian Giller to take 10th place. High-class Racing's number 20 car, one of 3 cars this team is running in this field. Also looking after the Nick Jones Porsche and the Team Tour car we just saw with Odin Gudmundsson making hay.
I was slightly out with the minimum drive time. I said 40, it's actually 45 minutes. But generally speaking, drivers will do more than that, even if you're a bronze, to make sure that the pit stop window is roughly half distance. And therefore to make sure that all the cars can have enough fuel to complete the second stint.
Fabien Michel pulling away here. Every single driver I've spoken to since we arrived here midweek, having sampled this track in these cars and in the LMP2s and the LMGT3s, loves this place. But they've all said this is going to be a very draining, mentally and physically draining experience. I think you came up with a stat earlier today, Johnny, that is it half of this 5.2 kilometres is in a corner?
Yeah, it's 5.2 kilometres in length. The total length of straights is 2.7. The total length of the curves, 2.55. So it's almost 50-50.
So it's all G-force, it's all positioning, it's all braking.
It's those neck muscles, crucially, though, as well. James Sweetnam said to me earlier on in the day, my neck muscles would testify to that statistic, because he is feeling it when he goes to bed at night, that he has worked very hard indeed. And this is a former airline pilot. That's what he used to do as a day job. So he's no stranger to the odd bit of G-force here and there. Side-by-side, Porsche versus Aston Martin. And James Swift has not been able to convert his pace shown in qualifying earlier today into the race pace at the moment. Struggling to hang on to this spot versus the 18 Porsche
He's
from
actually looking to get this back
again. Okay.
So it's the 2 Blackthorn Aston Martins lapping in formation and looking now to make progress.
It's for 6th and 7th and 8th places, therefore. Claude Bouvet is currently 8th. And through the last split, actually, Swift was timed ahead, but he is no longer. Nick Jones in front again in the blue and black Porsche. And the AF Corsa pilot, Matt Kurzajewski, leading the championship, is stretching his legs a little bit. This looked to be on a few corners ago, and now is a move that is made to stick. So Georgios Kolovos, despite that rather red-faced moment on the second formation lap in car 44, is in the groove now and up to 7th position.
Yep, built them with bricks, these Ligiers, pretty clearly. So as we watch this action, just to update you on the future for this class. New engine coming at the end of this year. One more weekend after the LMS tomorrow in European competition for these cars, as Andrew Bentley is under attack here for his 3rd place by Andrew Gilbert.
Yeah, so Bentley, Gilbert, and then Celia Martin in the bright pink Lamborghini. The Audi is smoking though, and I don't like the look of that. It was only doing it perhaps, no, it's still smoking now, coming out of Bucine corner and down the long start-finish straight. Might just be a bit of tyre rub after contact.
I wonder if he's had some contact. I'd like to see a close-up of the back of that car.
Yeah.
I think he's got damage to the, is it the rear left?
I thought it was rear right, but you might be right. It's very difficult sometimes to work out precisely where the smoke's coming from. It was definitely from the back of the car. The engine sits right behind the driving position, but I don't think it's coming from exhaust. It's more likely to be from either the rear left or right of those tyres.
Not slowing him down at the moment. Through comes the 34 car, by the way, into this group. This is the car that started from pit lane.
Yes.
So Alexander Bekantsov has already dealt with the other slow starting, or bottom starting P3 car from Terence Woodward. So yellow flags at turn 5. I think that problem. The Kessel car's gone. The 74 Kessel car's missing.
Okay, well,
there it is.
There it is. So Andrew Gilbert's had a moment now as well, and that has dropped it all the way back. I knew it was moving again because the yellow flags were withdrawn. A half spin, a full spin perhaps for Andrew Gilbert, and that well-placed Kessel Racing Ferrari has now dropped a number of positions as Terence Woodward begins this process of slicing through the order and getting in amongst that top 20 ideally, back in amongst the LMP3s.
Fastest lap of the race last time around goes to the race leader, Fabien Michel. He is working now a full second gap to Shahan Sarkisian. It's a measured start by most of these runners.
Yeah, and I wonder whether that is a bit of a combination of a new track, but also how things panned out in Spa, and just generally a calm down from starting drivers, knowing that you're not going to get a podium result after the first 20 minutes of this race.
I think the selective beatings that were handed out in the paddock afterwards probably helped as well.
By Gwen Borsier, personally, perhaps. No, we jest. But yeah, there are sometimes those reflective moments. We were slightly beyond the half-distance marker in the season, but with 2/3 of it gone at Spa, just after that race, everyone needed to sit down, have a quiet time on their own in a darkened room and say, right, where do Le Mans Cup driving standards go next? And so far, things are looking very, very good.
Good.
Side by side for the Hegeli and the recovering Georgios Kolovos Virage car. Not quite side by side, in fact. Duquesne marginally ahead. So this is the fight for 6th and 7th places.
It's good start from Kolovos. Despite that, as you say, quite embarrassing moments. He's got his head down. Can see a little bit of damage at the back of that car, though.
Yes, I would expect quite a lot of damage, actually, because he thumped the concrete wall.
I bet he felt that.
As now the Audi, did it just shed a little bit of bodywork?
No, I think it might have been from a car in front of him.
Okay. Well, the smoke issuing from one of the rear tyres does seem to have lessened, if not stopped. So that Audi still in 3rd position, and ahead of Celia Martin for Iron Dames, Nick Jones's Porsche, and then the 2 Blackthorn Astons of James Swift and Claude Bouvet. Also joining the party is Fred Jose in his Kessel Racing Ferrari. So remember, it was the Andrew Gilbert Kessel car that had the delay. Jose, on the other hand, remaining in 8th place.
Good save, by the way. The 2 AF Corsa cars are getting away in the lead of GT3 quite substantially. Kurzajowski is in 23rd place, and he has 2 P3 cars and something like 5 seconds between him and teammate Custodio Toledo, who was then 7 seconds ahead of Andrew Bentley in that 3rd place Audi, with the train of GT3 cars behind. And they are being delayed, by the way, by George Nakas in that GG Classics Ligier.
Andrew Gilbert's just done the fastest lap in GT3, so shows how hard he is pushing now to try and make up that lost ground. He's already ahead of Josep Maiola in the 23 car.
Get a long shot, you'll see him. He's coming.
Yeah. Well, 151.0 last time around. Nobody else ahead of him is in the 151s, with the exception of, well, that's Terence Woodward. He's in a P3 car.
Yeah, well, the lead cars are doing 152s, 153s. You're absolutely right. He's hauling.
Yeah. So the bit between Andrew Gilbert's teeth, perhaps, and Fred Jousset just over the rise. In the background was Jörg Dreishoff appearing in the Proton Uber competition Porsche. As we remind you, who is leading the race outright? Fabian Michal being caught by Shahan Sarkisian.
It's come down a little bit, just a 10th or 2 on that lap, as we've got most of the GT3 field still bottled up behind the number 58 Ligier. Can't pass that car because it's much quicker than them in certain aspects of the track, but then they close up. Top speed, not very different.
Yeah, so the flash of the lights from Andrew Bentley, but the problem is, even using the tow, as now the Aston Martin will go level again with Nick Jones. So James Swift in the first of the Blackthorn cars. How late can he brake round the outside? Now, earlier on in the day, this outside line at San Donato just did not work at all. I think it's going to be much better now that the grip is there. Down the inside at Luco, the second corner, and through will go the Aston Martin.
It's a good move from James Swift, showing confidence in a very new car to him this weekend. Great performance in qualifying. Trouble, though, for this is Christophe Lapierre in the number 10 Racing Spirit Le Mans Ligier. Engine cover off, and that's the cross hands, it's done.
Well, yeah, that's the universal sign for we can go no further. I don't actually know what happened there.
The 10 car. They were looking either at brakes or suspension.
Okay. But that, well, suspension would suggest contact. Brakes may be something that could not have been helped. But this early on was obviously an issue that was maybe bubbling even before we started the race. Shahan Sarkisian's now the quickest driver out there, 145.8, as this is what happened at the start of the race. So Fabian Michal under a little bit of pressure, but it was what happened behind, with easily 4 abreast, in fact, into the braking area for San Donato. That looks an epic shot from our drone, hovering above the first couple of corners, and then down the hill through to the lowest part of the circuit, Casanova, Savelli, the left-hander there, and into the famous Arrabbiatas that are full commitment, particularly on a qualifying lap. Got to be so careful on the exit of Arrabbiata 2, because you can easily run out of road on the exit. It's uphill and then over a rise. And this earlier on, as well, as you made the point, Auden Gudmundsson made a good pass there at the first corner. Dive bombing the 43 car was Giorgio Kolovos after his spin on one of the formation laps. That start, you said it was clean. It's actually under investigation now, but I don't think we have anything necessary to fear
always
about
is.
that.
That's a message we always see.
I'm just not used to seeing it this late into the race, because it's 14 minutes in, but they'll look at it, make sure that everyone's through the grid hatchings, make sure that they were all in the correct order as well once those red lights were extinguished.
The recovering Andrew Gilbert, by the way, is now in that shot. So still closing. Gilbert having been off, we didn't see exactly what transpired, but he's now just 2.5 seconds back from the Proton Uber Porsche that is attempting to catch this group, and still locked up behind the 58 car. And this is the battle for 3rd in GT3. It's the battle for 27th overall. And ahead of them, the 2 AF Corsa Ferraris. And these are the 2 AF Corsa Ferraris. That's the gap. There is the 58, and there is the 3rd placed Audi.
Kurzajewski in 51, Toledo in 88, and Bentley in the 24 Stella Motorsport Audi, but it remains an AF Corsa and therefore a Ferrari 1-2 in the GT3 division. There's a spin though for Georgios Kolovos again. There may well have been another car involved. It's coming out of Podiums, which is turn 3 on the racetrack, and Pieter de Kurten's just ahead. All on his own. Yeah, I'm afraid so. The damage on the rear bullet was from the incident on the formation lap, and amazingly everybody immediately behind was able to avoid that spinning car.
So no yellow flags required. It's a quick recovery from Kolovos. Well, he's keeping us awake with it, this, isn't he? two incidents out of nowhere. This is the second Blackthorn Aston Martin now looking to put a move on Nick Jones. So also getting involved is the Castle Ferrari behind.
Fred Jousset all over the curbs there, wanting to waste as little time as possible.
Look in the background now, there is the Proton Uber car, and behind there is the recovering Andrew Gilbert. This is going to be a bit of pack racing for quite some time, I think, in GT3.
And this is what I was talking about, you know, later on in the race when the P3 start to catch these little pockets of GT3 cars, there are certain areas you're just not going to be able to get by. If you catch these GTs in the San Donato Luco Poggio Secco complex, turns 1, 2 and 3, you're just going to have to wait as the LMP3 leader, because there's a single line through there, and the other place is the Biondetti chicane at the back of the big grandstand that overlooks the start-finish straight. Again, some may be brave to go 2 abreast with a GT car, but if there are 3 or 4 GTs, again, it's a game of patience, and that provides your opponent's opportunity to reel in some time.
There is, just looking at the rhythm of this race, against the kind of schedule we've got at the moment, we should be getting to the point where the lead LMP3s catch this traffic just as we're getting towards the pit stop cycle, which could make things very interesting indeed. If this race stays green, I know I said that out loud, and all of a sudden, by the way, the 58 car's pulled away from this group.
Yes. So car 58 away, is it still there?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay. So George Nakas has departed in the right possible sense, as in it's headed away from the Audi. There it is, turning right now, the GG Classics car. Custodio Toledo is ahead of it, though, in second position in GT3. And now to the inside, James Swift thought about it. Matthew Kurzajewski, by the way, is now the fastest GT car in the race. So at the lead, and he's just done a 151.086, which is the best GT time we've had so far.
Back into LMP3 land. And anything the GT3s can do, the LMP3s can do as well. There's another pack hustling along. Included in that, there is Auden Gudmundsson. That is the 10th place car still. No, it's not the 10th place car still, because he's dropped back a couple of places behind Tony Wells and Adrian Schiller.
Pieter de Kurten's getting closer to Ben Stone. One of the MV2S racing cars now splits the Breton Racing runners, so Jacek Zilonka has got between Jamie Falvey in 3rd and Ben Stone now in 5th. Here is Ben in the black car from Breton, and Pieter de Kurten's shadowing his every move. Brief glimpse here of the second CD Sport car being driven by Christian Short, and ahead of him is the Felbermeyer liveried, Horst Felbermeyer driven, obviously, Reiter Engineering car, number 50. Audi, Lamborghini, Aston Martin, 3rd, 4th, 5th in GT3. Had nearly 20 minutes of this race now, so it's going to be another 25 minutes before we see any of these cars coming down pit lane to make their first, and they will hope, only stop. As now Celia Martin goes slightly wide. Oh, trying to sell the Stella Motorsport driver the dummy there, but Andrew Bentley wasn't going to necessarily take that. Pulled the car right in the middle of the road.
Yeah, almost drew the Lamborghini in, didn't he? That could have gone very differently.
So the Lambo went wide, and I thought, oh, Celia's going to go right down the inside now in the hole that effectively she's created, but Andrew Bentley had covered that off. Now Celia Martin a little bit on the back foot, so James Swift It's taken him slightly longer than I might have expected, but he's finding that qualifying form now from earlier on, just turning up the wick with every single lap. De Curtens again pressurising Ben Stone in 5th and 6th places within P3.
And he's going to take a look here up the inside. Is this the right way to do it? I think he's got enough pace to draw away from the Breton 62. A little bit of wiggle as he tried to hunt for the apex, and the 62 means that's done.
Yeah, so again, De Curtens spotting that maybe Ben Stone wasn't as comfortable in his car compared to De Curtens in the Hegeli Duquesne. So place change, that's 5th position. They did look at the start, and they don't need to look at the start anymore because it's going to be no further action. Everybody was well behaved, as we rather suggested.
So in GT3, it's the two AF Corsa Ferraris, 25th and 26th overall. They are separated by 4 seconds. There's then one LMP3 car between that pair and the chasing pack headed by the Stella Motorsport Audi. 7 seconds is that gap, including the P3 car. They lead the race. It's now under half a second. Shahan Sarkisian coming back at Fabien Michel after a cracking start from the RH GP85 Duquesne driver. Now the CD Sports Ligier is coming back and contesting that lead. Jamie Falvey hanging on in there. He's 2.8 seconds behind. Trouble, I think, for one of the MV2S cars. The 29 cars just dropped back multiple places.
And where in the lap did that happen? Zielonka's, yeah, not coming through at all, being shown as stopped now.
That could be a timing glitch. We're not seeing flags indicated anywhere.
No, true.
Oh, he is in trouble.
Hasn't reached the end of the, well, the final sector now, yeah, we can see, but the 29 car equally is not being shown as completed the second sector either. So did he miss the beam at the end of the second sector? Has he gone so far wide out of Pelagio corner that he's not actually triggered to be in the third sector yet?
This is, unless he can get that started, we're going to get an intervention here.
Almost certainly, because the pit lane is blocked now, and he's not in the confines of the pit lane itself, no. So the team can't go up there. Well, they can go up there, but they can only look at the car because he's the wrong side of the white line.
Just explain that. There is a white line. It's clearly defined. The team cannot intervene unless the car has crossed that line. Before that, it is down to race control and their intervention teams.
We will be deploying full course yellow at 17:43:30, less than 30 seconds.
So that's the immediate
Car
response.
29, please inform your driver. We will pick him up and put it in safe position.
Yeah,
exit T15 double yellow, bear left. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Full course yellow is deployed. Exit T15, bear left. Exit T15, bear completely left. Any driver not respecting the instructions given over the radio will be reported to the stewards.
So bear left, and ideally avoid the pit lane at all costs, because you're not going to be able to get in at the moment. There's an MV2S racing car there.
Stopped at pit entry. We have car 29 stopped at pit entry. We send recovery. Bear left, exit T15.
And I am right, there's no second sector time for Zielonka, so he must have completely missed the timing loop coming out of turns 10 and 11, maybe gone so far wide, or just drove off the circuit. If it was busy behind him and the car had no pace, he may well have just driven away from the racetrack to as the safer option.
It's a moment for the Reiter engineering car.
This is into the full course yellow. And, well, was the 11 car... was the 50 car going at 80 kilometres per hour, is the question.
Still can't pass.
This is a few moments ago. Well, until the car's going so slowly that you're given no option but to pass. And there is an argument to say, well, I thought that car was the one, the reason why the full course yellow was out. It looks like it was breaking down, so I did overtake.
I have one question. Is it possible that 29 car took the shortcut?
Yes, because the shortcut route, it's a sharp right-hander immediately after 11, and therefore wouldn't take you through the timing loop, which sits between 11 and 12. So that's a possibility. It's now being given a helping hand from the pit lane entry road. hopefully all the way to the pit lane. This is still in dispute, folks. Felbermeyer versus CD Sport. Until they're told otherwise, it will be Christian Short who will say, well, I didn't deviate from 80 kph and the car in front of me was not quite stopped, but getting there. So that's why he would have thought about maybe overtaking. And now it does seem to have been resolved. Maybe a quick word in the ear from his CD Sport engineer saying it's probably not worth being too contentious about this. We're still in the opening half an hour of the race, and you're going to lose 5 meters or so. So get back into line and restart in that order.
So, as usual, car will be in a place of safety. They'll then want to get their kit and their people to places of safety as well. And then we will go back to green flag running. And indeed, full course yellow is going to be ending in about 20 seconds' time. I'm sure you'll hear from Gwen Boursier or his deputy.
We will remove full course yellow in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Full course yellow has been removed.
Away we go. And the Ferraris that are 1 and 2 in the GT3 category, both on the main straight, separated by not a great deal at all. Obviously all the splits on live timing are measured at 80 kph at the moment, but they will all reset to become much smaller gaps in just a tick, as the Lamborghini Facilia Martin is still very close to Andrew Bentley's Audi.
It's been a cracking battle in GT3. And now with the GG Classics Ligier around the ahead, in fact, of Estadio Toledo, I do wonder whether or not we might see that group close up. There's another move. This time it's the number 7 Wilson Racing car. Well, Tony Wells going ahead of the 87 Cool Racing car's James Sweetnam. That is for 9th position.
And the lights flashing on the Cool Racing car as well as it streams across the line. Number 87, not that far away from the 7 car of.
I think that's a 97.
Is it?
Yeah.
No, you're right, it is. Well, 87 is just in behind, therefore. I was watching them on the tracker, and they're occupying very similar parts of the racetrack. 84 is just ahead, which is the...
He's just gone by the... There's the 44 and the 84, 87, isn't it?
Julien Lemoine is in the 84 ANS motorsport car. So we've got ANS, the first Cool Racing car, then Tony Wells, and then behind that is the 87, the sister Cool Racing car of James Sweetnam.
So we are just around half an hour into this race, and now we've got the race leader into traffic. Not that far behind this battle, so we're soon going to get the next element that comes into play in this mixed class racing, which is, it's not one race, it's 2. There's a race for the LMP3s, and there's a race for the GT3s, and at some point the quicker cars are going to catch them, and that's about to happen.
Celia Martin, again, very close to the apex, a little closer than Andrew Bentley, but can't shake the rhythm in the Audi of the British driver, and he heads then out of Poggio Secco. LMP3's at very close quarters indeed. That was the 59 car started by Oscar Bitar. He's pursuing the 13, which has just actually got ahead of number 71. So Romano Ricci now ahead of Stefan Aust. M Racing leading Rinaldi Racing, with following suit Oscar Bitar, the Paraguayan, who has been a star at certain points in the qualifying sessions this year. Struggled a little bit earlier on, so began middle order and remains in 16th place.
Going into and out of that full course yellow, that half-second gap grew initially to 2.7 seconds. That's going to be with the coming down, coming back out, and traffic. It's now down to 1.7. Fabian Michel from Shahan Sarkisian. This is the 87, the 97, contesting 10th place, James Sweetnam, Northern Goodmanson. Just ahead of them is the... It's not the 7 car, so Which car is that?
Well, there's the Team Tour car, 77. I think he was the 7 car.
I think that I was looking at the 84 car and getting confused between Team Tour and Nielsen again.
Right. There's the Tony Wells number 7 turning right at Scarparia, and he has in front of him 2 actually similarly liveried LMP3s, but one's a cool car and the other one is the A&S offering number 84, which is being driven by Julien Lemoine.
Team manager of the Iron Dames to race control immediately, and 4 cars, the 18, the 13, the 44, the 24, under investigation for full course yellow infringement. So that is the number 18 is the high-class racing Porsche of Nick Jones. The 13 is the M Racing LMP3. Trouble for the 59 car.
Oscar Bitar. Now, he was one of 4 cars circulating at very close quarters. Is that a wheel or a tyre that's come loose from a car as well, rather than a tyre wall? Remember, he was pursuing, 3 other cars. Oh, there was a moment just ahead of him, and in reaction, I think, Oscar Bitar's left the track at high speed and slammed into the tyre wall.
It's a tyre from the tyre wall.
It is a tyre from the tyre wall, but I think that was a moment for Stefan Aust, potentially, in the Rinaldi racing car, because Romano Ricci had already got past in M Racing, so there was a squirm from the... And speaking of squirms and wiggles and worms, there's quite a lot of it going on around the racetrack, including out of Poggio Secco there for Audun Gudmundsson, who was well out of shape.
Yeah, the other 2 cars, by the way, under investigation are the Stella Motorsport Audi and the 44 of Georgios Kolovos, the other Team Virage car.
So this was the Team Tour moment, because he hit the curb, and that really did unsettle the car for Gudmundsson, but it was well controlled. And he can continue. Aston Martin from Blackthorn ahead of Jusset, which that'll be Claude Bouvet's number 91 Blackthorn Aston.
17:53 we will be deploying full course yellow. In 30 seconds we will deploy full course yellow.
I would say, by the way, the second, the recovering Castle Racing Ferrari and
we have
Gilbert.
A car on the right-hand side, T13. Right-hand side,
Porsche.
we have a T13, a car in the grass.
So Oscar Bitar's car is going to go no further for the time being. Nothing to stop it being recovered, and then the car carrying on after that point.
3, 2, 1, full course yellow is deployed.
This is quite delicate for Shahan Sarkisian, because sometimes GT cars can slow more dramatically or more slowly than LMP3s. They're all going into this full course yellow together. But
also difficult for Sarkisian because he is in the full course yellow in amongst the traffic, whereas the leader has cleared them.
Yeah, so the leader's in clear air, and that's what I mean.
T13, we will have marshals and telehandler exposed.
The other thing we're likely to see here is a bit of reordering of this tyre barrier. Because if one car can hit it, so can another, and those tyres did their job, but will need to be, I think, replaced.
So yes, not necessarily the integrity of that wall, because it might actually be Armco behind there, or perhaps concrete, but it's a tyre wall to start. Yeah, then there's a concrete wall behind, so it's 1 layer or maybe 2 layers of tyres. And they are going to call for some replacement. So make sure that the double waved yellow flags are still being waved for the incident itself, even though there are yellow flags waved all the way around the racetrack as well because of the full course yellow.
Well, there's a good example, by the way, of an experienced marshal multitasking. They're looking to recover the car, they're looking to repair that wall, and still has the... There you go, let's watch again. You're right, rear end of the car ahead just stepped out, and I think that caught out Oscar Bitar. He lifted, went, I think, to the curb, lost grip, and it was all over from that point.
So reminder, T13, we have telehandler and marshals exposed. We have double yellow flag there.
So telehandler will be primarily to recover the Ligier. Complete the point about the conduct of the marshal there, looking after his team, so watching for any approaching risk, looking to see what they need to do to recover that car, looking to recover the tyres to this damaged tyre barrier, and still has the presence of mind to realise that he needs one more hand for a double yellow. And there you go. That's just another part of the marshalling journey. Are you okay?
Yeah, because the marshals always have to offer instruction as well to the driver who has been involved in the incident. Well, first of all, to check they're okay, and then to pick a safe place for the driver to stand whilst the car is being recovered. It's their job as the recovery / marshalling crew to put the car into a safe location. And if it can then still be driven by Oscar Bitar, that's totally down to him. He can rejoin the race, beauty of endurance motorsport, and hasn't yet completed his drive time. Weirdly, because he's not in the pit lane, this is actually counting towards his drive time, even though he's not in the seat at the moment. And he was already behind that concrete wall. I don't know whether that is it a 10-meter rule at Le Mans, whether that actually applies here, and whether he has the intention of getting back on board. I don't think
he has any intention to get him back in that car.
Okay, we may well be done in that respect then, which is a shame, because he was on the pace with those 3 cars up ahead. But yeah, one tiny movement rather sowed the seed of doubt into Oscar Bitar's mind, and in reaction he's gone spearing off towards the barrier.
Still in a full course yellow. Car being recovered. No sign of work going on that tyre barrier at the moment. Whether that will follow once there's manpower enough to do it will be a case of hashtag wait and see. But we are, what is that, 37 minutes into this race. It's been relatively clean.
Yeah.
There's been some good racing. There's been a few incidents, but some good racing. There's 3 drivers with their itchy trigger feet ready for resumption of green flag racing. Fabien Michel, by the way. In fact, Jamie Falvey's up to 2nd place now. I don't know when that happened.
It had happened before. Well, obviously it happened before the full course yellow. I remember talking about Shahan Sarkisian slipping a spot, and he was in amongst traffic. But no, I don't think it's happened as a result of a problem for Shahan Sarkisian.
Falvey have been working that gap. Drop back a little.
Car 67, I would like you to formulate a proper report. Stop sending multiple messages on Discord. Thank you.
Fair comment.
So just for those that aren't familiar with Discord, messaging system. It's kind of, what do you call Discord? I guess it's Internet Forum 3.0.
Yes.
But, used by LMP3 Race Control for communicating with the teams. Replaces a couple of previous systems that have been used in the past, and they've found this a better system to use. And that experience came out of virtual Le Mans.
Full course yellow at 17:59. In less than 30 seconds, we will be removing full course yellow.
So the determination is that that tyre wall does not need a repair.
Okay. And the car, it looked like the car was being craned towards the racetrack, but I might have misread that.
No,
we will be removing full course yellow
fine.
in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Full course yellow is now removed. Full course yellow is under investigation.
Almost a collision there as Tony Wells got back on the loud pedal, and he's going to go right round the outside as now braking himself in Tony Wells' mirrors is the 97 car of Adrian Schiller. That was a weird message from Quent Boursier. He said full course yellow is removed, full course yellow is under investigation straight away. I don't know if that was a slip up.
No, I think he meant to say that.
Okay, well, it was almost as if he saw what was going on with these 3 cars and that they were overlapping, it felt like, before the full course yellow had been withdrawn. Oh, that could have been horrendous for the 97 car, outbraking itself into Correntaio corner, which is turn 12. Nearly cleaned out 2 cars. Fred Jousset now to the outside. Door mirrors kissed there between the Ferrari of Kessel and the other Ferrari of Kessel and the Blackthorn Aston Martin, and the Aston Martin loses 2 spots in one fell swoop.
Tony Wells up another place, so it's been a good restart from Tony. He's now up into 8th place. Next target is, in fact, he's 7th, isn't he? It's the next target is the 43. This is the recovering Andrew Gilbert. He's come past a couple of cars and picked up several seconds lost. And this was the move that gave him the opportunity to do it. It was almost a hip check. I think they brushed mirrors, but that might have been about it.
And they are designed to be a bit flexy, these door mirror supports. So they kind of just bounce back into shape. But that was a very opportunistic manoeuvre from Andrew Gilbert. They're both from the same team, remember, Jusset and the Gilbert car, even though they're in totally different paint schemes.
Should say, by the way, and it's an important point to make at this this juncture, Kessel Racing, both those cars come from Kessel Racing, one of the prime Ferrari customer teams, but more than anything else, they make a fabulous toasted cheese and ham sandwich.
Don't they just? When you've missed lunch for whatever reason, and we were flagging at about 4 o'clock this afternoon, and I mean, we went to a number of teams who we know well. They were very apologetic, saying, "So sorry, you've missed lunch by about 2 hours."
No, they actually said, "Get out."
And then we went to Kessel Racing thinking, what's the point? They're just going to chuck us out. And they went, well, we can make you a sandwich. Ham and cheese, all right. Of course it is. Here we go. Back to the matter in hand, and down the inside goes Auden Gudmundsson on the 87. There was a touch as he did that, and that rather speared the Cool Racing car a bit wider than he would have gone ordinarily, and therefore through in the same manoeuvre.
Jens Muller.
Jens Muller, yeah.
Yes, it's the other car run by High Class. So the two High Class cars, the two Danish-run cars, albeit with an Icelandic driver, are in formation, and then up the inside into turn 1. Through comes Georgios Kolovos as well. Not a million miles away from the pit stop window now.
I think that was entirely accidental, but Auden Gudmundsson rather did his, not teammate, but fellow high-class run car a favour there, and opened the door for Jens Muller to slot through, and ahead of the 87 and James Sweetnam. More
cars under investigation for full course yellow. This time it's the 44 again, it's the 20, the 18, the 77, the 87. We'll wait and see with all of that. We'll let Grimbortier and his team get through the inbox. We'll concentrate on the racing for just now. Fabien Michel still leads this motor race, under 2 seconds ahead of Jamie Falvey now, who's a second ahead of Shahan Sarkisian. In GT3, there's still an A, of course, at 1-2. 6 seconds separates Matthew Kurtajewski, Custodio Toledo. But Toledo is being caught by, I was going to say Andrew Bentley, but it's now Celia Martin, because the Lamborghini is going by the Audi, and the Audi under pressure on the inside, and can't go where he'd like to be with, is that the race leader? It is the race leader.
Yeah. And the
Audi still remains, keeps the place.
Yeah, the Audi is not past. These two cars running with effectively the same engine, the 5.2 litre V10 in the middle of the Audi and the Lamborghini. And yeah, good spot with Fabien Michel diving down the inside of those two GT cars. I don't think in any of the lists that have been issued about full course yellow investigation have I seen the 50 Felbermeyer car or the Christian Short CD Sport car. So I wonder whether in allowing the 50 car back through, you know, the benefit of the doubt, as it were, stay out of trouble. And even though Christian Short was overlapping the blue car of Horst Felbermeyer for a number of corners, that might have settled itself.
Now we're coming into the pit stop cycle, and there is one other regulatory matter to deal with here, which is that there are a number of pit stop adjustments to be made for these teams, and some of them are substantial.
Yes. And are you now asking me to dig out that sheet again? Oh, you've got it at quick hand. Okay, good. I'll focus on the screen then, Graham.
I'll wait till they're on the pit lane to talk about that.
Yeah, because remember as well, there was an amended sheet, as now one of the Inter-Europol competition cars has gone wide.
Looks like the 43.
It does look like the 43, with the principally yellow nose. Did well there, actually. Make sure the rejoin is safe as well. It is the 43 car of Tim Kresick. And that happened, yellow flags removed at turn 8, so it will have been Arrabbiata 1. Oh, there's contact right in the middle of Biondetti, and this was my fear with that very quick chicane between the Aston Martin and Andrew Gilbert's Kessel Racing Ferrari. So that might have been Claude Bouvet, yeah, because James Swift was further up the road. Yes. So it was Bouvet in the number 91 Aston Martin. And right at the apex, the two cars going for effectively the same bit of asphalt. Amazingly, the Ferrari's driven away from that. It's taken the punishment, and it still looks to be tracking straight in the background. Four cars all arriving into San Donato together, including the number 7 of Tony Wells. He is surrounded by the 84 car, which is still very much present. A&S Motorsports, Julien Lemoine.
These have been battling away for quite some time. Is this the repeat of that's the 43 car off?
That's Tim Kresic leaving the track at Arrabbiata 1. And that horrible sound of the car bouncing over the gravel. That was a big hit in Biondetti 2 as well, the second
and he was off
element
the
of the
track,
chicane.
off the track before that hit happened. So that will be
Which
trouble.
one, the Ferrari?
No, the Aston Martin cut the corner.
Well, is there an argument to say that the Ferrari had cut the left-hand bit of the chicane there, and that was the only reason it was on the inside? But yes, the Aston Martin wasn't fully on the track either. Audi, Lambo, Aston Martin. So that's the James Swift car, still very much metaphorically glued to the rear of Celia Martin's Lamborghini Huracan. And a lap ago, Celia was able to draw alongside Andrew Bentley's Audi. I notice on our graphics, Celia's got the German flag next to her name. On the roof of the car, it's very much the French tricolore, sharing with Karen Gaillard, Swiss driver.
Not unusual for a driver to have a different nationality than their licence.
No, indeed.
Well, it is unusual, it's not unique.
No. But whereas I've resisted to this point in calling her Celia Martin, I'm more tempted to do that now I know she's French. I always thought she was German with all the racing she's done on the Nordschleife. Oh well.
Top 3 cars in LMP3 and GT3 on pit road, both the AF Corsa cars and the Stella Audi. Also the 91 Blackthorn Aston Martin. It means the Iron Dames for now go to the lead. Celia Martin ahead of James Swift and Nick Jones.
So 45 minutes and a bit more completed for Matthew Kerzhezhevsky. He's into pit lane along with the 88 of Custodio Toledo. So AF Corsa perfectly happy to pit their two cars at the same time and in a very similar area of pit road. They're kind of in the right order though, aren't they? And the fact that these pit stops are being done outside of garages, it maybe didn't matter which order they'd arrived in. They would have put the 88 car in front of the 51 had it been the other way around.
Well, we did say there were some pit stop handicap times to be added. None in GT3 this time. There are 5, but it will actually be 4 because Oscar Bittart is out of this race to be added. What's watching here? This is the Writer Engineering car. Oof. Briefly airborne there, and I think that's going to allow the CD Sport car through. We'll wait and see just which of, in fact, Christophe Lapierre was also a car that had a pit stop handicap applied. That car's out the race as well.
Did the CD Sport car get through? Well, actually, they both pitted. CD Sport pitted. The 50 car maybe did not. Writer Engineering, no. Horst Felbermeyer stayed out for another lap, so actually it didn't give the place to Christian Short for very long at all because he dived into the pit lane. Meanwhile, the race leader is in, Fabien Michal. So RHGP will have a driver switch to Adrian David. Adrian making the comment to Steph Wentworth earlier on in the day that actually to be able to watch the qualifying session that took place either side of a red flag was more stressful than any of the stints that he's done with him in the car.
This is going to be a very busy pit lane right now. The first of the teams that are going to be taking a pit stop handicap time on pit road, that is the 84 A&S Motorsport car pitting in the hands of Julien Lemoine from 10th position. And they will serve a further 33 seconds. This is all adjusted time depending on the performance, principally of the bronze driver in the previous race.
But interestingly, the 85 car is not on the list for this race meeting. So
they've got no pit stop penalty because they had a terrible Spa.
Okay, and is it tending to be based on the previous race?
This is based on the previous race.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. So it's based on
Christophe Lapierre, had he survived in this race, which he hasn't, would have a 58-second penalty to serve, or handicap to serve. Romano Ricci in the, that's M Racing, isn't it? That will be 55 seconds. Julien Lemoine will serve 33. Peter de Curtens in the 62 car will serve 24. Oscar Bitar out of the race will have served 5.
And I wonder whether those pit stop handicap times are based on the cars as they cross the line in Spa. Do they take into account any post-race penalties? Because, I mean, Ritchie's been slammed with a 55-second extra time, and they were bumped back to 6th as well.
I think it's to do with their speed.
Just the general speed across the piece, rather than finishing position. Okay.
Correct. I think so.
Yeah. But then that wouldn't fit with the RSGP thing, unless, of course, they just didn't have speed across the whole an hour and 50 minutes.
They didn't. They were out pretty early, weren't they?
Right, so there wasn't much data to go on. Okay.
So Shahan Sarkisian, pit lane, Ben Stone on pit lane. Breton Racing's Jamie Falvey leads the race, but obviously requires a pit stop. Just looking down the order, all of the GT3s are in, and all bar 3 of them are out. With the exception of the Iron Dames have not yet stopped.
Back in the race goes RSGP, and this will be Adrian David now to pilot the car and the team, who are second in the championship. Started this weekend with 41 points, so trailing Adrian Schiller and David Drew of Cool Racing by 8.5 points, with the potential of 52 still on the table at the start of the Mugello weekend. And now, well, say now, it has still been nose to tail for quite some time between the Aston Martin and the Ferrari of Blackthorn, number 91, Claude Bouvet. Well, that will be a driver change to David McDonald now. Welcome David back to the championship after he was unable to attend Spa through injury. And he has on his tail David Fuminelli in the number 12 Kessel Racing Ferrari, taking over from Frédéric Jousset.
So under an hour remaining. Breton Racing lead the race with a group of 5 or 6 cars still to pit. Keep an eye on just exactly where this is going to pan out. Andrew Gilbert, by the way, on a final warning for track limits, has caught the other Kessel race, not track limits, but yes, it was, sorry, track limits. Caught again his teammate looking for a way by the other Kessel car. Plenty of tussles, hunting in groups of 2 and 3 again, aren't they?
Yeah, that shouldn't still be Andrew Gilbert, should it? Because it will have done the stop. It's been in for a stop, so we should have seen the driver switch now.
And by the way, yeah, car 91, the Blackthorn Aston Martin, is going to get a drive-through penalty for causing a collision, and that will have been the clash with Andrew Gilbert.
Right, in the Biondetti chicane. To the high side now, Fuminelli on David McDonald. And I would think pursuing them now is Fran Reda, the Spaniard in the orange and black Ferrari. Speaking of shortcutting the Biondetti chicane, well, Fuminelli did precisely that. To the high side now of David McDonald in that 91 Aston Martin goes the Rueda-driven car, but there's no way through there. And in behind, one of the CD Sport cars, not on the same lap, trying to put a lap on potentially these GT cars. Jamie Falvey from the race lead is into pit lane. Still trying to work out which of the CD Sport cars this is. It might be the 11 around the outside of Reda. Car 11 will have had a driver change as well. Frank Chapard taking that over from Christian Short.
The pro drivers now aboard most of these cars. The lap times are coming tumbling. Fastest lap of the race now goes to actually the 16th place 71 Rinaldi racing car. Stands of Felipe Fernandez-Laza. 1:45.135, the quickest lap of this race so far. In comes Celia Martin. Karen Gaillard will take over the wheel of the 83. From the lead of GT3, of course. Final GT car to stop.
Be a drive-through penalty for the Proton Huber competition Porsche because of track limits, and also for the 74 Kessel racing car of now Fran Reda, we think.
Still says Andrew Gilbert.
It does. Can't be. Well, they've done their stop, 2 minutes 40. And yeah, everything else is ticked off as far as I can see, but they've just not switched the driver ID.
Still waiting, by the way, for Peter de Kurtens and Alexander Bekantsov to come down pit lane. They're currently first and second, but have not pitted. What are we watching here? This is Ryder. A little bit of a love tap as he passes, but that was a proper dive bomb.
And Rueda now through on David McDonald.
But
so
will
the Kessel,
will get a drive through, as indeed will the 91.
Okay, so they'll probably still be together after that as well. Set time when you trundle down the pit lane at precisely 60 kilometers per hour from point to point is the 85 of Adrian David. And I'm now remembering that Adrian had very little, if at all, driving in Spa-Francorchamps, so good to have him in the car again.
Still, a lap time has come tumbling. Another new fastest lap of the race, 1:44.760. This time to Adrien Clotemil from Cool Racing, the 87 car, working 11th place right now.
So when the Iron Dames Lamborghini is eventually overtaken after it rejoins, then Alessandro Balzan will lead the GT3 category ahead of Custodio Toledo. Senan Fielding's been plugged into the Stella Motorsport Audi to replace Andrew Bentley. Also rejoining is the 26 car, earlier driven by Jamie Falvey. This is now Dan Scotch de Pola, who is silver of the Czech Republic. And that car now heading through San Donato, just struggling a little bit for grip as Dan gets used to the current car setup, because cars do evolve over a race as long as this. We've had nearly an hour now, which means 53 minutes still to go.
This is the pair that's been battling throughout this race. And the Audi, now in the hands of Senan Fielding, emerges ahead of, significantly ahead of now, Karen Galliard. The now fully serviced Iron Dames 83. Celia Martin. Good stint.
Yeah. Maybe a tad frustrated not to have broken the stranglehold of Andrew Bentley on that third place position, but she tried every trick in the book to get ahead. Celia Martin may well have had a few moments to have a word with Karen Gaillard as they did the driver's switch. A couple more pit stoppers from the lead. Pieter de Kurtens, Alex Bekantsov, who started the race from the pit lane.
And the 67 car will have to serve a handicap time. So this car is going to tumble down the order.
Yeah.
They have stretched the envelope as far as they possibly could. New fastest lap of the race again, Adrian David. 1:43.754.
So well, Adrian David in that third position at the moment. That will evolve into the race lead. But as this pit stop happens for Hegeli by T2 Racing, a chance to head to the Lamborghini crew who've just pitted. I promise you we will be able to hear from that in a moment or two. I know Steph's still talking away, as is Celia Martin, but that's not making it to air, so we will get to that just as soon as we can. As Pieter de Kurtens has brought the 67 car in, so Samir Ben will take that car over in just a tick. Adrian David should therefore, as this untangles, still be race leading. Here he is, and he's about to skip ahead of car 67. 14 seconds to the good over the Breton Racing number 26 then. And William Gosselin for CD Sport, who took over from Shahan Sarkissian in the pit stop, should be up to third position eventually.
Yeah, this car will be waiting for...
Well, we are joined by Celia Martin of the number 83 Iron Dames. It's been a very busy pit lane down here. You were one of the last to come in, so was the car feeling quite comfortable underneath you?
To be honest, once I was not following the Audi, then I felt, oh my God, yes, the car is much better like this, but this is how it is. In the dirty air, you have to be able to keep up the pace. I was trying to defend as well on the Aston, but fair play with the Audi and the Aston, it was quite fun. Yeah, now I hope Karen is gonna full push, and we'll see what it will be like.
And this is a brand new circuit, you know, really challenging. We've got one more round of the championship as well. It's really heating up at the front, isn't it?
Yes, it's quite tricky, and you know, this two full course yellow was very critical with the tires. It's amazing with the Lambo. The front was like, okay, have no front anymore. So challenging and but very fun. It's a nice flow. I really like it. One of my favorite, definitely.
All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So cycling round to the lead, it is RSGP, Adrian David, 19 seconds ahead of this pair. It is Dan Skrostopoulos now aboard the 26 Breton racing car, and right behind him in the number 2 CD Sport car, William Gosselin. So second and third place separated by just tenths, although that is getting just a tad confused with the leader of the LMGT, the GT3 race, involved in this battle now, as the contenders for the overall podium get involved.
Adrian David and Skrostopoulos then getting closer, well, David mainly. There's quite a queue forming up behind the Czech driver in the Breton racing car. 1.2 seconds to William Gosselin, then a further 1.9, 2 seconds call it, to Theo Jensen, as somebody ran off the road just ahead of the William Gosselin driven number 2 car. I noticed that was coming out of Poggio Secco, or possibly the Borgo San Lorenzo corners. I still struggle to tell 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 apart, to be honest. Anyway, there we are.
Theodore Jensen, by the way, is absolutely got the hammer down at the moment, and he's right with William Gosselin for third.
Yes.
Message on our screens, it's helpfully white on yellow and I can't read it.
Okay, bear with me and I should be able to dig that out from another source. It involves a potential unsafe release for car 51 and 58. Far more crucial for car 51 though.
That's the race leader.
Which is the race leader in the GT3 category.
It's Alessandro Balsan. Oh, that was a very wide moment and slide from the 62 car as Theodore Jensen tries to get by the number 2 car. Has been past it briefly, but has dropped back behind the 2. So briefly we had the 2 Breton racing cars, but Breton Racing taking the race win last time out. Here it is. There's the slide.
Did very well to keep that entirely off the grass, but yeah, not too happy. 1 or 2 in pit lane witnessing that. There is Samir Ben in the 67 car, having taken over from Pierre de Curtens.
That car, with that pit stop adjustment, has dropped out of the top 10. 12th place now, and battling away for, or battling to keep 12th place.
Yes.
Looking to work the gap. And it's a 12-second gap to Rinaldi's 71 car in the hands of Felipe Larza. In fact, he's just lost a place to Nicholas Bourne from Reiter Engineering car, the 50 car. That's the Felbermeyer livery Ligier.
So here's William Gosselin in one of the CD Sport cars. The other one just caught sight of is Frank Chappard now, taking over from Christian Short, and he's right on the tail of Samir Ben in the Dayglow yellow for Hegeli. Nicholas Bourne's further up the road from them, but this is the 3rd and 4th place fight, and Theodore Jensen, as you have suggested, is on a tear here down the start-finish straight. Now, what happened a few moments ago with the 71 to the outside line and one of the Virage cars on the inside, that was coming out of the Arrabiatas. 44, Minea Stefan ahead of Felipe Fernandez Larza, who's now been plugged into the Rinaldi racing car.
So Minea Stefan trying to keep a championship run alive here. Adrian David leads for RSGP from Breton Racing, then CD Sports number 2 car. So it's 26 from Breton Racing, the hands of Dan Skrostopoulos. William Gosselin is closing in on the 2nd place car and is in a battle for that position and potentially 2nd with Theodore Jensen, who's amongst the quickest on the track over the last 5 minutes or so. Wayne Boyd is 6 seconds back and pushing hard to get onto the train of that with, you could almost fill in the gaps here, Colin Noble Mention Wayne Boyd or Colin Noble. The other one's almost always in contention as well, and this is the case 5th and 6th with the Nielsen Racing number 7 car and the Team Tour 77. Wayne Boyd in the car that for many years Colin Noble drove.
Yeah. Fran Rader's just done his drive-through penalty, by the way, so the 74 car instructed to come in. And that was for the contact on the Aston Martin, wasn't it, earlier on,
yeah.
When Andrew Gilbert was at the wheel. But it doesn't matter which driver is currently in the competition. If there's been a penalty assessed to your teammate, then you have to come in and serve that.
Still this battle for 3rd place goes on. To the outside this time from the young Dane. Is the cutback going to work here? Yes, it is.
Round the outside at Luco and will secure it at Poggio Secco, the 3rd corner of the racetrack. So excellent run there, and heads-up driving, almost preemptive overtaking, thinking I need to put it on the outside line on the exit of turn 1 because I should be then in the apex of turn 2.
Has to have absolute confidence in the grip he's got available there. 44 and 71 still involved in this battle for 10th place. Menea Stefan and Felipe Larza. 44 minutes to go. Lots still to be determined and decided here.
So swinging left at Matarazzi. This fight still between Stefan and Fernandez Larza. 2 GT cars, make that 3 GT cars and possibly 4 in a moment or two, all closely bunched. And the 43 Inter Europol competition car attempting to overtake them as quickly as possible as well.
There's an interesting trio here. Ross Kaiser now aboard the Blackthorn number 90 car, the better place of the 2 Aston Martins. Then it's Sven Müller now aboard the high-class racing Porsche number 18. In the background, it's David Fumanelli in the number 12 Kessel racing car. All 3 of these cars covered by, what is that, 2.5 seconds?
So it's Daniel Alley now who's got ahead of the high-class racing Porsche and is working his way further down the road. Still no word on what's going to happen with car 51 and whether it was released unsafely. Alessandro Balzan can do nothing else but to try and build a gap, because if it's going to be something like a 5-second penalty and no worse than that, well, build the 5 seconds. But the problem is unsafe releases tend to be policed a little more sternly.
Should point out, by the way, Daniel Alley, late addition to that car, replacing Sebastian Gravland, who was in a road accident and rather battered. Did try to see whether or not he might build a race, but I think the bruising, I think he might have said he had a broken rib or 2, but has opted not to race. So Daniel Alley had qualified for this car as well, in case that was the case. But Seb, get well soon. We'll see you at Portimao, we hope.
Now, the 58 car's team manager is being told to go to race control immediately. Car 58 is the GG Classics car that was earlier in the hands of George Nakas, now being driven by Fraser Ross.
The last of the undelayed LMP3s, running in 23rd place.
Well, last of the LMP3s that still run in the race, because the others are all out, aren't they?
They are indeed.
Yeah.
Bitar accidents, MV2S, some kind of mechanical. Racing Spirit Le Mans, that was some kind of breakage at the back on pit lane, wasn't it?
Very early on, after, well, a matter of laps, really. So yes, unusual for mechanical issues to strike that early on, particularly with these LMP3 cars that are a long way down the line now. So as now to the inside line will go the 18 car driven by Sven Müller.
That's given Fumanelli a run on the Porsche. He couldn't make the move stick on the Aston Martin, but it gave Fumanelli an opportunity to get the run on the Porsche. Porsche's looking for a way by again and again behind them, and that's a spin for the LMP3 car, caught out by the battle ahead for the GT3s. That's the number 6 car.
Nicolas Schatz, I would expect him to be doing...
That's not going to get out of there.
It's not, because we've had cars stranded in that gravel trap before that have brought out full course yellows.
Now that might be a safety car, just where it is. It might be a safety car. That's not an easy recovery.
Adrian David will be willing that not to be the case, but can it be done under full course yellow?
Theodor Jensen, by the way, has gone past William Gosselin and Dan Skostapola, so 4th to 2nd. Now, what is the decision going to be from Gwen Boursier? Going to go to full course yellow?
Yeah. Because otherwise, that was a 28-second lead that Adrian David would have had to kiss goodbye to, and he would have had a rapid Theodor Jensen right on his boot lid at the restart. So it's going to be dealt with under full course yellow, at least initially. Still 40 minutes of the race to go. It would have been an interesting time to release the safety car and somewhat reset the field.
Should be now.
And there it is. We weren't hearing the countdown into it, but I'm sure Gwen Boursier was doing that countdown as we speak. And then the cars all circulating at 80 kilometers per hour around this 5.2 kilometer circuit, with Adrian David, Theodor Jensen separated by about half a minute going into this full course yellow, so it should be roughly the same coming out of it. That is the beauty of these speed limited cautions.
Well, under 40 minutes to go. We're under full course yellow for recovery to the track of the ANS Motorsport number 6, caught out by a battle ahead with a trio of GT3 cars. I think was looking for a gap that was never going to be there. Clattered over the curbs, turned the car around and embedded in the gravel. So are we going to see this again? It's not the same move, is it?
There was a couple of touches there. Sven Muller on the Aston Martin as the Aston driver tried to dive bomb back again, but that there wasn't quite the real estate in order to do that. So Muller now ahead in car number 18 of, well, Fuminelli, but also that was him getting past Ross Kaiser in the previous overtake.
So RSGP lead the race in the number 85 Duqueine ahead of a pair of Breton Racing Ligiers. Theodor Jensen, young Dane, been just taken just before we went to full course yellow, 2 places to leap from 4th to 2nd, and he is showing real pace. The 62 car ahead of the sister 26, the hands of Dan Skostapola. 4th place, CD Sports number 2, another Ligier, hands of William Gosselin. Then Wayne Boyd, David Drew, Colin Noble, pretty close together. 5th, 6th and 7th, and the 7 Nielsen Racing, 97 Cool Racing and 77 Team Tour Ligiers. High Class Racing's number 20 Ligier in the hands of Tommy Foster is next up. He's 8th. 9th is the 2nd Cool Racing car, now in the hands of Adrien Closemil. The 87 car is 9th. Rinaldi Racing's number 71 is in the hands of Felipe Fernandez-Larza. He sits in 10th place. In GT3, it is still an AF Corsa 1-2, although there is an investigation underway into, was that a pit stop issue for the number 51 car that leads the race in the hands of Alessandro Balzan. He has just a very small advantage over teammate Riccardo Agostini. Senan Fielding in the Audi from Stella Motorsport number 24 is 3rd. Sven Muller in the High-Class Racing Porsche is 4th. But before we get back to the action, let's get on to Steph. She's in the pits.
A very warm welcome from the pit lane. Alongside me, I have Tony Wells from Nielsen Racing. That was quite the shift you put in from yours. We saw some incredible overtakes from you as well. Just tell us from your perspective how that went.
Yeah, well, I kind of made the race more exciting for myself with such a rubbish qualifying. So I got traffic where, so I ended up quite out of position. I should have been a lot further up. But anyway, the car was awesome. So, and I just thought, I'm going to have a bit of a laugh here. And I had great fun. And it was, I mean, I just had pace. And it was difficult at the beginning. I got a couple of cars. And then, you know, once it settled down and people, you know, the grip started to go away from them, then I could kind of slowly pick them off. But I mean, the GTs were a bit more exciting than I thought, and I lost the place back. But no, it was great fun. I really enjoyed it.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Graham is a little puzzled about the gap between the 1st and the 2nd place cars, in that it's opened up to 1 minute and 20 seconds. I think that's merely because we're at full course yellow speeds. It should condense back, but it was 30 seconds, yeah. 28, 29 seconds. Are you still thinking that maybe Adrian David or Theodor Jensen weren't going the same speed? It's difficult, isn't it?
it will be about 30 seconds of just looking at the relative positions on track. We're back to green flag running,
We are.
by the way, and
Yep.
that was a change.
So it's down to 51 seconds now, and it's not quite finished yet. Wayne Boyd is right on the tail now of Theodore Jensen. So Wayne's got ahead of William Gosselin. David Drew starting the climb as well. Remember, David Drew and his teammate Adrian Schiller currently lead the championship by a fairly slender 8.5 points. So they're looking to build as many as possible.
This is the move from Wayne Boyd. Initially, just rather bought by the Aston Martin. Aston Martin perfectly entitled to be there.
True.
But he had to make the move stick. Took a gutsy move to the inside. He did make it stick. A bit of a drag race down the start-finish straight.
So it's almost back to where it was before the leading margin. About 28 seconds when the yellows came out. 31.6 currently between Adrian David and Theodore Jensen. Remember that the 85 car was not given any additional handicap time penalty in the pit lane because of a pretty, well, forgettable Spa-Francorchamps. But then as a result, is the 85 just automatically the strongest car because of the speed that Fabien Michel offers?
Absolutely right. Meantime, the biggest loser in the run into and then out of full course yellow, Dan Kostapola from third and now down to 7th place behind Wayne Boyd, William Gosselin, David Drew and Colin Noble. And the biggest gap between that lot is 1.026 of a second. That's Gosselin to Wayne Boyd.
Round the outside will go Alexandre Guignot in the number 13 M Racing car. To pick off that position, that is for 20th place, scrapping with the MV2S racing car of Vyacheslav Gutak. He's sharing with Terence Woodward. Now remember that Terence had to come from the back of the field in the opening stint and had worked his way through the GT3 cars, but that car is still outside the top 20 in LMP3.
Unsafe release for that GG Classics car. We heard they were being called to race control, and that's going to be 10 seconds added to their race time. That's not going to be a major impact on this race. They're running at the moment in 22nd place.
No, but it gives us the yardstick on potentially what might happen with the 51 car, because remember 51 and 58 were under the same scrutiny. We haven't had an answer yet about the GT3 race leader.
Going Gaillard under pressure here. Sven Muller has already gone by and tucking in behind David Fumanelli. Porsche, Lamborghini, Ferrari. How much longer is it going to stay in that order? Lamborghini coming back at the Porsche. Don't think it has the straight line speed to do anything about it. Fumanelli using the toe, goes to the outside. He's going to cut back to the inside of the Lamborghini. He's going to get that position, and he's going to follow Sven Muller through.
So Karen Gaillard desperately trying to hang on to these positions, but couldn't hold back. A couple of cars using different strategies to get by. Not convinced that the Lamborghini is quite as quick as the Ferrari either in the balance of performance. Remember, balance of performance has to work at lots of many different circuits, so naturally certain cars are going to go better than others. We reckon actually Aston Martin would do a strong weekend because of how quick the Vantage has appeared in the third and final sector. That still stands for European Le Mans Series qualifying. Two of the top 3 GT cars in quali were Astons, and they might be set for a real good race tomorrow.
Absolutely right. But you've got to sustain it. It's not just about that single lap pace, is it? It's increasingly about time management, energy management in LMGT3, which is a major change from what we're looking at here. Way, way wide for the Breton Racing car there.
Podiums
Kostapola.
This is turn 4 at Materassi, and now through Borgo San Lorenzo, turn 5 down the hill now, approaching Savelli corner, and as you say, the battle for 7th and 8th and 9th places with Adrien Closmany right in behind in 9th spot.
Ahead of this group, by the way, another change. It's a change for 4th place. David Drew has made his way past William Gosselin, and Gosselin now has Colin Noble right under his rear wing, and this is that battle.
Gap at the head of the order, pretty much stable. at just slightly more than half a minute. Theodor Jensen, as quick as he is, and as dramatically he worked his way up to second position, just not eating into that at the moment. It's difficult to tell from this distance whether any of those two cars are affected by traffic. Let's just check the tracker. Yeah, 85's just got by a couple of GT cars, for instance. But then half a minute further back, the 62 Breton Racing car has also had a bit of GT traffic
just
too.
Passed a single car, hasn't
he? But on the straight, so shouldn't have been too bad. And actually the gap opens up again in favour of David.
30 minutes to go in an hour and 50-minute race. It's restored a bit of pride, I think, to the Michelin Le Mans Cup after what was not its most glittering display at Spa. Whilst we have had incidents, it's been racing incidents for the most part.
Yeah, and not on that basis necessarily avoidable either. Whereas a number of the whoopsies in Belgium could have been steered clear of, particularly that first corner melee.
Battles to watch in GT, it's about the final podium position as things stand, and we're still waiting to see whether or not there might be some intervention about the 51 car for potential problem on pit lane. But Senna Fielding is being reeled in by Sven Muller. There is time for that to come down, and Muller is bringing David Fuminelli with him.
Evidence of tyre smoke at San Donato corner, but we've not had any reports of yellow flags. May even be a bit of early evening mist hanging in the air. Slow car there at the Biondetti chicane, and the two cars that are more on the pace, well, including this Breton Racing number 62 running second for Theodor Jensen. He's able to clear some of that traffic. Still trying to work out which prototype that was. Oh, it would have been the 28 MV2S Racing car that was struggling a little bit for top-end speed coming out of Correntaio corner.
It's pitted, so I think there's a problem for that car. It's Gutak pitting in that car.
Yeah. So a weekend to forget, sadly, for Gutak, but particularly Terence Woodward, with that high speed off in qualifying earlier on in the day, having to start the race on the back of the grid. And now, sadly, that may be a retirement with just under 30 minutes of the race remaining.
Keep an eye on where the ebb and flow is coming here.
Wayne Boyd in car number 7, just 0.8 of a second clear of David Drew, and Drew looking to collect more championship points. They're looking at 12 at the moment, the Cool Racing crew of Adrian Schiller and David Drew, but important if they can to catch, well, I was going to say the R-Race GP duo, but the problem is they're so far down the road. Timed at 35 seconds, the distance between David, the race leader, and David Drew in 4th position. So there's the two Davids, if you like, one surname, one first name. And this will condense things if it finishes in this order, because at the moment the R-Race GP car is scoring 25 points and the 97 championship leaders scoring 12 points. So a difference of 15 will definitely bring Michel and David back in, Adrian David back into contention.
Indeed, looking as well as to what impact. Looks at the moment as if there's not going to be any time for Theodor Jensen to catch Adrian David. But what about Wayne Boyd and David Drew? Well, they're still in contention for podium positions. At the moment, Wayne Boyd sits 3rd, David Drew right with him, and both of them have the capability of catching the second place man. So that is still alive. Sven Muller is reeling in Senna Fielding. Fuminelli coming as well, but has had a warning on track limits now. So David from Jensen, Boyd, Drew, Noble, Gosselin, Foster, Closemil, Skostapola and Fernandez Laza are the top 10. Renea Stefan trying to get on terms for a top 10 finish. And it's still the two AF Corsa Ferraris that lead. Balzan from Agostini, Senna Fielding, Sven Muller, David Fuminelli, Karen Gaillard, and Ross Kaiser the top 7 in LMGT3. In GT3, I must stop saying that. It's GT3, LMGT3 tomorrow for the European Le Mans Series.
Yeah.
And don't forget, by the way, this is not the end of endurance racing here at Mugello this weekend. 4 hours of European Le Mans Series racing to come tomorrow.
Headlights piercing through the fading light here at Mugello.
It's going to be pretty dark at the end of this race in 25 minutes.
I didn't check sunset time, in truth, because I didn't really think it would be an issue, but we can't be that far away. It's now 6:45, and Fuminelli with those headlights piercing a hole in the back of Sven Muller's Porsche as they exit Poggio Secco, the 3rd corner, and into the braking area for Materassi, the roller coaster of this Mugello circuit, heading next for the descent down towards Savelli corner. Side-by-side action, which involves William Gosselin in the CD Sport car, and to the outside line now Tommy Foster in car 20 for high-class racing. So they still side by side. Gosselin got the judgment at the end of... No, Foster got the judgment, and he now is ahead.
Klaus Emil involved in this as well.
Yeah.
And that is going to be... Oh, there's a touch there, and that just sent William Gosselin slightly sideways. Did well to recover that, but he's lost 2 places in that battle. So up now into 6th place, Tommy Foster. He's 2.5 seconds back from Colin Noble. Cool Racing's number 87, the hands of Adrien Klaus Emil, moves up to 7th place. The gap is visual. There's the clash. Just gathered it back up though. And the only harm done is a couple of places lost.
Sunset here, easy to remember, bang on 7 p.m. and we're due to be racing for a further 10 minutes after that with a 17:20 race start time. There's the 84 car then, which exits the 3rd corner of the racetrack. ANS Motorsports, Paul Trojani. But another chance to head to pit lane to find out who Steph Wentworth has found this time.
I am joined by Vyacheslav Gutak, who has just retired the car, the number 28 MV2S Racing. What has caused this retirement? Because it kind of came out of nowhere for us.
Yeah, there was a bad luck from qualifying for us. Unfortunately, Terence had an incident, so we tried to fix the car during the break, but then Terence started the race, and it seems, I don't know, maybe we have still struggled from the qualifying issues, because I was driving for half an hour, and then suddenly after the full course yellow, I started to feel that the car don't have an input, so there was no steering at the end, and we decided to retire the car because at the end it began to be dangerous, to drive like this. So yeah, bad weekend for us, bad luck, but we're gonna come back stronger next weekend in Portimao. So yeah, it happens like this, and unfortunately for the other car as well to retire after half a stint with such a good qualifying. Yeah, just not our weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, pretty rubbish weekend for MV2S. Both cars in trouble.
But well described.
Yes, it was.
By Vyacheslav Gutak, who hasn't always been in that car, I don't think. They've had an awful lot of various different drivers cycling through the course of the year. Roman Iniesta, Kenzie Rees-Beecroft was in at the start of the year as well. Here's the 97, leading the championship as mentioned. David Drew still looking for a way by Wayne Boyd, but Wayne will take some distracting. It's going to be a long, long wait to force a mistake from the Ulsterman.
Yeah, he's dropping back though from Theo Jensen. Jensen under 30 seconds back from Adrian David, but I don't think there's time to do much about that unless there's dramas for the leader. But Wayne Boyd has dropped a couple of seconds to the 2nd place car and is very much in the sights of David Drew. So 144s for the 2 leading cars, 145s for the gaggle of cars behind. And the only change from that pattern down the order is the 12th place car, Rick Kern. He's in the 144s in the 34 into Europol car. Remember, that car started from pit lane, now in 12th place. And Kern catching Minea Stefan for 11th place.
Yeah, so gaps in certain areas are changing, whereas others, well, it's come down marginally in the race lead for Jensen to Adrian David, but that's probably more to do with the odd bit of traffic that's being caught one lap to the next. This is lap 45, still with 21 minutes to go. I agree about Wayne Boyd there. I think he's far more distracted with what David Drew's going to do next. So then, therefore, can't commit much of his brain power to the road in front.
Trouble on the way, and in fact just arrives, as I mentioned it. Car 12 drive-through penalty for David Fuminelli. And Fuminelli in the Castle Racing car was right behind, who is still right behind for the moment, Sven Müller. They are catching Senan Fielding fast for third place, so that's going to drop Fuminelli out of contention for that. Meantime, no answer to the investigation for Alessandro Balzan. He's still got 7.5 seconds over Riccardo Agostini, 1-2 at the moment, 51 from 88, AF Corsa from AF Corsa, Ferrari from Ferrari. Stella Motorsports, Senan Fielding is dropping back off that lead. David Fuminelli takes the drive-through immediately and will tumble down the order as a result. And that puts Karen Gaillard back up into 5th place.
Yeah, we haven't had anything further said either way, so it's not been a no further action, and there certainly hasn't been a penalty heading in the direction of the 51 Ferrari. They were flashed up in the same list that included the GG Classics LMP3 car, and by the fact that they were given a 10-second penalty to be added to the race time at the end, then if there is a penalty, you've got to think it'll be the same for car 51.
Depends what they did. Now, bear in mind...
It was unsafe release for both.
Right, OK. If it's unsafe release, I wouldn't understand why the delay, other than they're investigating. There might be a protest. But remember as well, there are certain things in pit stop you must do, and at times they delay until after the final 20 minutes.
True.
Because that's the window you're allowed to do it in. We've got 90 minutes left, and it may well be that if we've got anything in that order, that we start to see it right now.
Yeah, but that tends to be about the pit stop reference time.
Yes. Because
teams will say, well, we haven't done our long stop yet. Yeah, there might be a 2 minutes 39 in there, for instance, because the time you've got to do this weekend is 2 minutes 40. But race control can't intervene, as you say, until there is no more time to make that stop.
And at the moment, the 51 car's done a 2:41.
So that's absolutely fine, I would imagine. Yeah, there's loads of other cars that have done 2:41s.
Yeah.
And the 51 wasn't on the list of extended. There were no GT cars on the list of handicap times, additional handicap times,
correct.
were there?
There was absolutely not.
Yeah. It's a mystery, but it may still be being looked at if the in-tray is deep, which it so often is for Gwen Boissier and his team, or more to the point stewards rather than the race director. They will be looking at everything in turn and in detail, as correctly it should be done.
I often feel that Gwen Boissier, after Michelin Le Mans Cup, must go home to his loved ones. Quiet at the office, dear. And he'll just go quietly to his study for a sob.
You wouldn't even begin to imagine.
Sven Müller right with Senan Fielding now. And I'm not sure that Senan's got the pace in the car underneath him to defend this. It's been a rapid catch-up of the Audi by the Porsche. 87 car meanwhile. And Cool Racing battling away with the high-class racing car of Tommy Foster, so it's Adrian Closemil.
I'm looking at the gap currently between Alessandro Balzan and Riccardo Agostini. It's 9 seconds, so if they are slapped with a 10-second post-race penalty, as in 10 seconds to be added to the race time, Balzan only needs to find another second, and he's in the clear anyway. Would they in fact instruct Riccardo Agostini to just drop back by a couple of seconds at AF Corsa?
Got a potential explanation as to what was going on with the 51 from our friend Jens Jensen, journalist from Denmark, and attends all these races, and because there's plenty of Danish interest, I think every third person by regulation is a Dane.
Well, the other thing is, of course, there's no European Le Mans Series racing in Denmark.
No. Oh, okay.
I mean, I have asked him, do you have ELMS racing in Denmark?
Apparently no.
No, Johnny.
Maybe what he
next
explains
year.
is the 58 car, the GG Classics car, no relation, that got the penalty for unsafe release. The disadvantaged car was the 51.
Ah,
Is that the phraseology that we've been missing?
Incident involving cars 51 and 58 under investigation, unsafe release. Right. So it's like as if an incident on the racetrack where both cars that were involved are listed, but only one is at fault.
I don't care what people say about Jens Jensen. I think he's quite good.
I would agree. And the fact that, you know, his brain power is on this whilst we have to keep talking, it's always a benefit, because I can't think straight, frankly, for most of these days. Certainly a Saturday.
The other thing is, Jens, you've got to remember, has also got the additional burden that every Dane that is not in a racing car at the moment has to do, which is constantly building Lego Technic.
Yeah, whilst on the move.
Yes.
He nearly had to build his luggage out of Lego Technic.
Thanks, Lufthansa.
The other day.
Other European airlines are available.
They are, and he may well explore them.
I think he probably will. It's 15 minutes to go. Adrian David still 29 seconds ahead. This has been a stable gap, hasn't it? Wayne Boyd still just dropping back 10th by 10th, but he's now in defensive mode against David Drew, no doubt about that. Colin Noble and Tommy Foster follow behind. And that's pretty much the same story. Noble with his mirrors full of Tommy Foster. That's Team Tour and High Class Racing. Adrian Klosmil with that pair as well in the 87 Cool Racing car. This is the battle. Senan Fielding and Sven Muller. And as always, catching a car is one thing, getting by is another. Senan Fielding trying to make that Audi as wide as he can. He was balked there by, I think, is that the M Racing car, but somehow managed to keep the place through the corner.
Great racing, as usual. Nip and tuck, as it so often is, towards the closing stages of this hour and 50-minute long race. We're inside the kind of money laps now, the 15 minutes to go. Oh, tucking in right behind Sven Muller, knowing every inch dimension of that Porsche, as you would expect. The amount of laps he's done around places like the Nürburgring Nordschleife. It's so important to have that sixth sense for what is around you and whether you can cut back onto the racing line safely. So over the rise will go Sven Muller into the right and left flick of Scarparia and Pelagio corners. Then another slight rise before the dive down into Corintao corner.
Getting into dusk now, a flavour of the Le Mans 24 hours. All we need now is caffeine addiction, sleep deprivation, and about 23 hours of correcting Martin Haven, and it's just like being there.
I thought you were going to say, and cake for breakfast. No, I won't bring that back up again.
No, please don't.
Side by side, Audi and Porsche, and they stayed in the same order just about. Aston Martin number 90, though, under an awful lot of pressure from the number 12 car of David Fumanelli. Ross Kaiser is ahead, and that's a cleaner line, the more conventional line through the Biondetti chicane, with prototypes in behind, including the 71 Felipe Fernandez-Larza driven car.
Senan Fielding on a warning flag for track limits, so his defence is becoming somewhat desperate now.
Larza got ahead of William Gosselin. I thought that move was on as they complete that lap, up to 8th place now for Fernandez-Larza.
It's been good progress for him. Steady, but good progress.
Agreed. Coming very much from a GT background, but he's been racing prototypes for a few years now, including with the Fricadelli crew in the past, but now with Rinaldi Racing, fellow Nordschleife favourites, if you like.
Side by side here between the Kessel Racing Ferrari, and I think he's going to make that stick. This is the recovering from his drive-through David Fumanelli. And he's got through on Ross Kaiser in the number 90 Blackthorn Aston Martin.
Dive-bombing the two of them was William Gosselin to make sure he wasn't delayed further, so clearing a couple of GT cars. And then the next car back is the Breton Racing number 26 of Dan Scotch de Pola.
Lost out in that little tussle, had to back out of it, didn't it? Czech driver.
In the background, the Mugello circuit takes on a completely different complexion in this level of light. In another 30 seconds, we will be at official sunset time, but a further 10 and a bit minutes to go. Streaming across the line then goes the 97 Cool Racing car. Still David Drew in 4th place. So this is okay for the championship, but bear in mind they're looking to try and hold back the progress of RHGP. Very difficult to do, because after 50 laps, Adrian David has a lead of 35 seconds over everybody else. 40 seconds back to David Drew, their championship rivals.
Seven Fielding still fending off Sven Müller. This must be increasingly taxing. Light getting lower. His lights in his mirrors are not getting any less bright. And he's not finding any more pace in the Audi at the moment. Karen Geyer, by the way, is not going to join this battle in the next 10 minutes on pace. Adrian David, 35 seconds to the good now. Wayne Boyd holding the gap to Theo Jensen at 4.5 seconds, and still has David Drew under a second behind. Colin Noble closing that gap a little, and still under pressure from Tommy Foster and from Adrian Closemil. Fulminelli under investigation again for track limits. Now that's the second time, I think, and that will be a stop and go.
Will it not be 5 seconds and then an additional 10 seconds?
No.
Or does it jump straight to drive-through?
I think it goes drive-through, which he's had. Then he goes stop-go, then it's stop plus time.
Yeah, okay. That sounds about right. So Fulminelli, this could be very damaging, because the under investigation message is normally indicative of something about to happen in the near future. Sennett Fielding, 3rd in car 24, ahead of Sven Müller in his Porsche. Trying every trick in the book now, trying to get to the inside line of the Team Tour car. Driven by Colin Noble now.
Now Müller tries the inside.
Yeah, but the next corner is a right-hander, so Sennett Fielding had that covered off. The headlights of the Porsche seeing right into the gearbox area of that Audi. There's quite a large gap, actually, which is fascinating when you see the car in the garage, to be able to stare into it.
That was Adrian Closemil going by Tommy Foster.
OK, so Closmini up a position to 6th place now, and ahead of Tommy Foster.
8 minutes to go. If things finish as they are, we will have champions in GT3. The 51, if they finish ahead of the 88, will be the champions.
Yeah.
At the moment, that gap is 6.8 seconds.
Well, I'm pleased, through the help of a few people, including Jens Jensen, that the reason why we were holding back was the fact that there was a potential penalty coming for car 51, but we had kind of misread that message. So that's decided, and Alessandro Balzan has a 6.6 second advantage over Riccardo Agostini.
Now, having gone by Tommy Foster, well, this is the 97 car. This is David Drew and Wayne Boyd. 44 car. Wide, wide, wide. It's been a torrid day, hasn't it, for Team Virage car. So battle still underway for 3rd place overall. Battle still underway for 5th, 6th and 7th place overall. And a battle still underway for 3rd place in GT3. And we have just under 7 minutes to go in what's been a much better race. Can cars multi-class racing work at Mugello? Yes, it can.
Yeah, no question about it. And it has been generally clean throughout. There've been the odd bit of incident. There's been that clash between the GTs at the Biondetti chicane. Slightly ambitious manoeuvre, but thankfully, although one car went off the road, there wasn't a hard hit into the barrier. Oscar Bittar's incident into the tyre wall has probably been the biggest thing in terms of damage to car, but thankfully not driver, and that resulted in a full course yellow for a period of time as well. Agostini's now only 4.6 seconds off the tail of Alessandro Balzan. So where is the 51 Ferrari, and is it trying to work its way through some traffic, or is it being caught by the LMP3s? No, it's in clear air.
It is.
So That gap, which was nearly 10 seconds, is now closed to 4.5.
Well, keep an eye on that.
1:49 for Agostini. It may well be Balzan just driving conservatively. Here's the chance for Sven Muller to the inside of Senan Fielding. And now there's contact on the rear of the Porsche, which rather unsettled the number 18 car. Senan Fielding not wanting to take that line down. But it was a move set up, I think, in Palacio corner and effectively completed turn 12, Correntaio.
It had the air of inevitability eventually. That's been some defence from Senan Fielding. In a car that you have to say on pace has not had the legs on the Porsche in the latter part of this race. 5 minutes to go and he's had to give best at this stage.
Still 4.5 seconds. Yeah, that was just a bit too much of a touch, but expertly controlled by Sven Muller. Sent him over the sausage curbs in the first bit of the Biondetti chicane. And obviously Fielding feeling that he had got a better run coming out of Correntaio corner, but needed a gap, and there really wasn't one past the Porsche.
This is still the battle for third place overall. Wayne Boyd for Nielsen Racing, looking to add further silverware to their proud record in LMP3. It's a black and white warning flag for driving standards for Senan Fielding after that tussle.
It's still 4.5 seconds, just watching them through the sector splits. There's Alessandro Balzan completing the latest lap, which will be lap 52 for the 51 Ferrari, and they're separated by still pretty much 4.5 seconds. So I think just a bit of race management from Alessandro Balzan rather than a problem as such, coping well with the margin that he did have. Yes, he's kissed goodbye to half of it, but that may be in part deliberate. So A of Corsa Ferrari leading A of Corsa Ferrari in the GT3 class. High Class Racing's Porsche now onto the podium, getting ahead of Senan Fielding's Stella Motorsport Audi. And Karen Gaillard still looking good for a top 5 finish. Remember, she was running third in Spa-Francorchamps after that big incident, which saw a spin on the approach to Blanchimont corner after contact with an LMP3 car, puncturing a tyre.
This is the battle for third place. Still David Drew looking for a way by. Just noticed, by the way, Alessandro Balzan about to lap the 8th place car, Kessel Racing's Fran Reda. This is masterclass by both of these gentlemen. Clean as a whistle. They've been tense apart for about half an hour, and they've made up places doing it. Colin Noble is closing on them, but it's not going to be quick enough. There he is coming into the turn. And now Alessandro Balzan gets a track limits must respect. That's just one before the warning, which becomes before the penalty.
Yeah. So we can't afford any more worries in that regard. Only a handful of laps still to go, though.
It's a battle between the Reiter Engineering 50 car and the 84 ALS Motorsport car, but this is for 14th. Replay. And what are we going to see here? Oh, and that's what has been the damage caused, presumably by that brush to the rear from Senan Fielding, and that will be why he's got the warning.
Yes. Yeah, it's got to be.
Now Balzan gets the
contact.
warning flag.
Right.
No more. Cannot afford another track limits.
Yeah, but I think within the next warning segment, you may get a few chances. So it's not like literally the next moment he goes over the white line.
It is. After
Normally
warning flag, yep, one more.
You normally get 3 within each segment.
No.
So it's 3 to a warning flag, and then it's another 3 until you get a penalty.
My understanding was that's your last warning.
We'll check on that with Eduardo Freitas and the stewards. But a warning flag it is, and there's only a minute to go, so it's only going to incorporate 1 lap, isn't it? And this is probably why, or maybe 2 for the GTs.
It'll be this lap and 1 more.
This will be why I think Balzan's wound back the pace, just so he does not risk a drive-through.
He'll know. They will have told him just exactly how many's been observed.
Yeah.
He will know. The number 7 car still keeping that gap. Karen Gaillard. And there's David Firminelli back with her.
He is all over the back of the Lamborghini, lights flashing in an effort to distract Karen Gaillard. It'll take a little bit more than that, though, to succeed.
He's under investigation, isn't he, for track limits again?
Car 12 is under investigation, yes.
Yeah, but we've not seen a second penalty yet.
That's correct. The decision has not been made to this point. So they're gathering the evidence, which may well be damning in the next few moments. But, well, you can convert a drive-through penalty into race time. Is it 30 seconds?
Something like 30 seconds. Depends on the pit lane length.
Right, OK. Yeah.
So 85 car leads the race. He's at turn 9 on what is the last lap of this race, and it's been a cracker. It's been a great race from the RSGP guys as the two Ducanes get together on the final lap and goes past the T2 by Hegeli car. Put another lap on the 67. Pretty fault-free here.
Adrian David on course to take maximum points, and this with it should be the championship lead as well. So it'll flip around from an 8.5 point deficit to a little bit of calculation. We reckon maybe 5.5 point advantage heading to Portimao, but it's really tight indeed between RSGP, who are the winners today, Adrian David and Fabien Michel, and their long-time championship opponents in the points, 97, Cool Racing. And also into the final corner at Bucine corner, it's the 51 Ferrari of Alessandro Balzan, possibly balancing a tightrope in terms of driver abuse of the track limits, but no matter, because the car is over the line to take the victory, and it's going to be an AF Corsa 1-2 in fact between Alessandro Balzan and Riccardo Agostini. The gap at the line just 2.7 seconds.
And the championship,
yes,
for Matt Kerzhezhevsky and Alessandro Balzan, and they've done that in fine form. AF Corsa have played a blinder here in the Michelin Le Mans Cup this year. Their two Ferraris have been very, very tough to beat.
So that really was on the cards for a few races in, with a cracking start from Alessandro Balzan, but particularly Matthew Kerzhezhevsky starting to set the way of how the championship may pan out, and they look to be a strong contender even way back in Barcelona. Into the AF Corsa garage we go. And this is the reaction then, not only to the victory, but more crucially to the 2024 championship victory for car 51. They were winners in Barcelona to kick things off. They also won in Paul Ricard, the second round of the season. They took victories, two second place finishes in the Road to Le Mans event as well. Side by side further back, who are we still waiting for? This is Virage versus Breton Racing at the line, and Karen Gaillard missing out on a podium because already home is the Sven Muller high-class racing driven car number 18.
Yeah, the Porsche beats the Stella Motorsport car home. It is a drive-through penalty assessed for David Firminelli, so further 30 seconds added to his race. That will drop him a further 2 places back behind Ross Kaiser and the sister Kessel Racing car. Cracking stuff there from RSGP. Gilles Duquesne there welcomes the team home. Adrian David has brought the car home, but it was a fine qualifying performance from his teammates that set up their opportunity to get clear air at the start of that race, and they just did not look back. Jean-Eric Verne there, big part of, I think he's now the LMP3 program manager for Duquesne. Probably better known to watchers of this form of racing as one of the drivers the Duquesne handled his Soto Fraschini hypercar effort. His day job is with Duquesne.
So conversations in amongst AF Corsa, I think it's all good-spirited. They know that they've had a wonderful season, and with thanks, of course, to Matt Kerzhezhevsky and Alessandro Balzan for doing all of the hard work. And I know Steph has caught up with those two on a number of occasions this season. Yeah, they were outpitted by the Kessel Racing, number 12 in the first race at the Road to Le Mans, and likewise didn't score maximum points in the second event either, but they were there or thereabouts. 2 second places at the Road to Le Mans, then second place in Spa-Francorchamps as well. So I don't think at any point in the season have they been outside the top 2 in the results to date, and that is how you win a championship.
Well, in a short season, to win with a race to go is pretty unusual. It does indicate something pretty special.
Yeah. And meanwhile, RHGP come fighting back after a race meeting to forget in Belgium at Spa-Francorchamps. They have got back onto the straight and narrow, and with that, we reckon a championship lead, as slim as it may well be, with thanks to Jeff Carter, the press officer for the Michelin Le Mans Cup. It's a gap of 5.5 points, he reckons. 67 now for car 85, and 97, 61.5 points. Yeah, 97 did not improve on its 4th place when he pinged those provisional points to us. So David Drew, try as he might, could not get in front of Wayne Boyd, and therefore that crew, David Drew and his teammate Adrian Schiller, will finish with 12 points today. Here we go then. Matthew Kerzhezhevsky over to the driver's side door of winning driver along with him, Alessandro Balsan, and the two will surely embrace after a hard-fought season. They'll be coming to Portimao as well, I'm sure, in support of the 88 crew to try and help them, if possible, finish further up the order in the championship too, because that would really put the icing on the cake if of course, they can finish 1-2 in the championship. They 1-2 at the moment. They will head to Portimao in that order as well. But most crucially, the 51 Ferrari also sealing the championship with still a 1 hour and 50-minute race still to go. Quite a lot of atmosphere down there. What a place to do it as well for Ray, of course, to seal the title. Alessandro Balsan, originally from Italy. Matthew Kerzhezhevsky, an American, but probably has adopted Italy as his second home as well. The champions of the 2024 Michelin Le Mans Cup GT3 fight are those two drivers. They look a little worn out. We did say that it was somewhat of a physical circuit as well. So 57 laps completed for the RHGP duo of Adrien David and Fabien Michel, finishing ahead by a clear 42 seconds over the Breton Racing duo that were winners last time in Spa-Francorchamps. So well done to Ben Stone and Theodore Jensen. A good drive from the Danish driver in particular. And Wayne Boyd in car number 7, finishing 3rd with Tony Wells. So that's the podium in LMP3. We've mentioned the winners and champions in the 51 Ferrari, but they finish ahead of Custodio Toledo and Riccardo Agostini in the 88 car. And High Class Racing's Porsche complete the podium for Sven Muller and Nick Jones. So it is a win for RHGP. Steph Wentworth has made a beeline for their two drivers, and we can hear from them now before they head to the podium.
Yes, Johnny, I am here to catch up with the drivers from RHGP. Huge congratulations to you guys. You actually have taken the championship lead now. Fabien, your qualifying all season has been fantastic, and today was no exception.
Yes, of course. For qualified for pole position, it's an amazing story for us and the team. I am proud of my teammate and my team, because we worked very hard during the week for doing that.
And you two work so well together. We spoke earlier on today and you were so happy to have that pole position, and now that's been converted into a win.
Yes, honestly I'm very happy. It's our first win of the season. After 4 pole position, it was the right time to take the championship lead before Portimao. So yeah, I cannot be happier to have Fabien as a teammate, because he gives me the car P1, so I just need to finish the job.
All right, congratulations. Enjoy the podium.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great stuff from that team.
Enjoy a few weeks of being the championship leaders as well. It's taken a bit of time to get there, but it's a good place to begin the Portimao race. Then again, you've got an awful lot to lose, and Portimao does have a reputation for biting. So it feels like almost a different day when this race began, because it was the early I suppose late afternoon, 5 o'clock, early evening. But that very great quality of light as well, as the Michelin Le Mans Cup launched its way into San Donato corner for this penultimate race of the season. And LMP3's fanning out left, right and centre as they threaded their way through this tricky circuit in Tuscany, down into Savelli corner. For the first time of asking, the GT cars were side by side, including Andrew Gilbert and Celia Martin, whilst Adrian David took a watching brief in the number 85 car. Down the inside there was Georgios Kolovos, but then he would make a mistake a few laps later, spinning dramatically in front of a few LMP3 cars, one only just squeaking through on the exit of Borgo San Lorenzo. Aston Martin up against Porsche, as James Swift started from pole position in the number 90 car. This was his teammate, though, Claude Bouvet, in number 91, fighting with the Porsche of Nick Jones. Eventually that car would be handed over to Sven Muller. The number 2 car started by Shahan Sarkisian. This car barely making it into pit road. It went missing on our timing screen, the MV2S racing car, as then Oscar Bitar left the track. I reckon because of an incident just ahead of him where Stefan Aust also had a similar moment but controlled it, however, leaving the circuit in sympathy. That was a big hit for Oscar Bitar, and sadly he was out of the race on the spot. Auden Gudmundsson caught the curb on the exit of San Lorenzo and almost rotated the car as well. Borgo San Lorenzo corner. Then this GT clash at Biondetti, the high-speed chicane towards the end of the lap, meant that Andrew Gilbert went way off into the gravel. It would have done a bit of damage to the Aston Martin as well. 2 GT cars going for exactly the same bit of asphalt. Breton Racing to the outside, CD Sport to the inside, but the 62 car washing out entirely with a complete lack of grip that far out on the San Donato first corner. Still side by side as well between Tony Wells and Shahan Sarkisian. Tony later saying to Steph Wentworth he was just out to have fun, really. Struggled in qualifying yesterday, so was determined to enjoy the stint, come what may. And then 3 GT3 cars having a really good fight. Karen Gaillard would be the loser in this, as squeezing through on the inside line, the number 12 car, then driven by David Fumanelli. So we are now into the highlights where the second drivers, generally speaking, have taken over. There was some contact eventually between Sven Muller's Porsche right here and the Audi of Senan Fielding. That did quite a bit of damage to the diffuser of the Porsche, flapping around underneath. And those are big pieces of carbon fibre, so to dislodge that was a fairly big touch on the exit of the Corin Chao corner. So 85 RHGP take the victory in this race, and with it the championship lead. More crucially in GT3, we have champions for 2024, because Alessandro Balzan and Matt Kurzajewski, with a round to spare, are the Le Mans Cup champions.
Great stuff. Darkness has fallen on this fabulous circuit here in Tuscany. We get ready for the podium celebrations for both classes. That is the overall race result. 57 laps, the win by 42 seconds for the 85 RSGP Duquesne from the 62 Breton Racing squad. And Nielsen Racing's number 7 and Cool Racing's number 97. Close contention all the way to the flag, but it would be the British flagged car, the number 7, that takes the final podium position all the way down. Notable, by the way, 9th place finish for the 34 car that started from pit lane. What could have been for inter-European competition.
True. They were due to start from 6th place, wasn't it?
Then we get into GT3, 22nd overall, but crucially the winner of the race and the championship, the 51 AF Corsa Ferrari, just a couple of seconds ahead of the team car, the number 88 car. High Class Racing's Porsche, the number 18, a final podium place ahead of Stella Motorsports Audi. And then towards the end of the order, the 4 cars that did not make it to the flag from MV2S, Team Virage and Racing Spirits of Le Mans.
So drivers raring to go for this penultimate podium of the season. And those that are still around in the grandstand will see quite an atmospheric podium presentation after the hours of darkness. Obviously during the midweek phase of the Le Mans 24 Hours on the Thursday. That race, the Road to Le Mans race, is held fairly late on in the day, but never to be in darkness as much as this. We have a few times in Portimao run this late, though, on a Saturday night as well, which has provided great entertainment. Third position then to Nielsen Racing's Wayne Boyd and Adrian David. No, not Adrian David, and Tony Wells, I should say. Then in second place to the Breton Racing duo, having taken victory in Spa-Francorchamps, the 62 crew, Ben Stone and Theodore Jensen. Again, featuring on the podium, I should say, second step of the podium. And Adrian David and Fabien Michel, with that dramatic upward spotlighting as well, are going to be well lit, and they are going to be well hosed with champagne in a moment or two, but not before we've heard the national anthem of RHGP. This is the French national anthem to celebrate. They're very, very happy with their afternoon/evening's work there. You get the feeling Fabien Michel and Adrian David are successful, not only in winning this race, but also in taking the championship lead by a slim margin. That really does make the Portimao race, the final one of the year, very interesting indeed.
It does mean we're going to be holding our breath, and I'm sure they will after that result, as to whether or not they're going to carry a substantial pit stop handicap into that one.
Yeah.
And who else in championship contention might be in the same position? You've said it before, Johnny, I'll say it again. That Portimao finale has a habit of throwing spanners galore in the works. It's a very different rhythm to the final race weekend this year, as it was last year for different reasons, with both the Michelin Le Mans Cup and ELMS finales on the Saturday at Portimao. You have a chance to come to that race meeting, please do come. It's always an absolute festival.
I presume there are going to be some brave drivers who are going to attempt to do both races as well.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Not the whole race for one particular driver. They will share it, of course, in the stints, but nevertheless, an hour in Le Mans Cup, an hour, maybe an hour and a half in the ELMS. You will certainly have known that you're in a couple of motor races and on a hard day's work at the end of all that. There is confirmation that it is indeed a 5.5 point advantage between RHGP and Cool Racing heading towards Portimao. The outside bets will be the 20 high-class racing crew in third on 46. Breton Racing just 3 back from that in the 62 car with their win and a second place. A win last time out, second place today. Cool Racing's 87 in 5th, just a few points back from that as well. So very tight between the top two. Michel, David, Schiller and Drew. And then this second batch, if you like, of Jens Moller and Tommy Foster and Ben Stone and Theo Jensen, Adrian Klossmany and James Sweetnam. Back to Steph Wentworth, the bottom of the podium, for more reaction from today's race.
And here I am now with the champions for Le Mans Cup GT3 2024. That sounds really good, doesn't it? I bet you love that.
Or if you're official and it's real, yes, absolutely, absolutely.
And it's incredible to do it on home soil for the team, really. To seal the championship here, so important, Alessandro.
Hi, it's very special. You know, already racing a Ferrari for an Italian is pretty special. Representing the 51 of course, there's a lot of weight on the shoulders, but you know, I have an incredible teammate. You know, Matt execute everything perfect. You know, it was very good at the start to be ready to go. LMP traffic was more challenging than usual in this race, but you know, it's been a great season for us. We're having a lot of fun, and you know, also Michelin tires felt so good. It's really fun to drive the Ferrari 296 GT3 on this track.
And it's really special with a championship so short to be able to seal it before we've even met the final race.
Absolutely, it's been a great pleasure running in this series, ACO Championship. I think it's really good preparation for the future. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to Portimao. I wish the schedule was longer. Every point is critical. We've learned with such a short schedule that it's exciting.
Well, enjoy the celebrations, you guys. I'll see you in Portimao.
Thank you.
They've done it with 3 wins then. Might still be 4, of course, in Portimao. But as I say, when they've not won, I'm pretty sure that they finished second. So in terms of the points haul when on a bad race, it's still fabulous.
Been a cracking run, and credit to Alessandro Balzan, already a double IMSA Sports Car Championship GTD class winner back in 2016 and 2017, back-to-back with Christina Nielsen back then. And now here with a new teammate, a new programme after being a little out of the limelight for a while, Alessandro, and he's come away with a championship with Matt Kurzajowski, and it's been pretty faultless.
Yeah, entirely. Now we move on to the podium celebration for the GT3s. So in 3rd position, high-class racing, Sven Muller, Nick Jones, AF Corsa's Riccardo Agostini and Custodio Toledo finished 2nd, but all about Matt Kurzajewski and Alessandro Balzan, who take their rightful position on the top step of the podium. And it can only be the Italian national anthem for AF Corsa. And a big round of applause from all involved with the team, the fans that are still observing from the grandstand as well. A wonderful way to spend an evening, prior to pizza and beer, of course. An hour and 50 minutes of the Michelin Le Mans Cup, which enthralled throughout. And on the whole, very, very clean racing as well. Although an interesting point that Alessandro Balzan made in that, you know, the LMP3 traffic, you have to be more aware, if anything, around this track because it is so busy, because there are all those corners. So an extra look in the mirror could pay dividends before you turn in.
Well, there you go, and this is the result. With race winners, we have championship winners in our GT3 class, and deservedly so. The best news, if you're watching from home, is we can do this all again tomorrow with the European Le Mans Series and 4 hours more with LMP2, LMP2 Pro-Am, LMP3 and LMGT3. And that's just going to be this turned up to 11.
An 11:30 start for the 4 hours of Mugello tomorrow, but we will be on air at 10 past 11 local time for the full look at the grid, drivers preparing themselves whilst the cars are released, and then we get going, as I say, 20 minutes later at 11:30. 107.5 points and counting for Kurzajewski and Balzan from their teammates in 2nd, Custodio Toledo and his teammate Riccardo Agostini. Then the Kessel Racing crew, number 74, in 3rd position of Andrew Gilbert and Fran Reda. Nick Jones on his own on 56.5 points because he's had a fair few teammates this year. Sven Muller, the latest this weekend. David Fumanelli and Frederic Jousset, though, are on the same points and currently in 5th in the championship. So it's one race to go, and everything decided, well, for the championship lead in GT3, it's decided. It's still fairly close in behind for second. The key thing heading to Portimao, though, is that we've got one heck of a fight on our hands in the LMP3 category. And the big question is, do Adrian David and Fabien Michel get a bit more of a penalty in terms of that handicap time in Portimao or not? We'll have to find out nearer the time. One thing is for sure, it will keep us guessing right to the checkered flag in Portugal. We'll see you in 3 weeks' time for that. Bye-bye.